What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. Admiral Elemental Sword Chi 1s Chapter 1 There is no justice, I am the protagonist. Open black lens bracket brain storage close black lens bracket There are three types of fruit abilities. Elementalization, summoning sword energy, and transformation abilities. Hyun calendar year 1512. A village called Dex on the Grand Line. In the lush jungle on the island, the young man climbed up from the fertile soil in embarrassment. Boom. Ah. A strange fruit fell on top of him from a thick tree, knocking the boy unconscious again. When he woke up, there was a strange-looking fruit in front of his blurred vision. The left side of the fruit showed the appearance of a gaseous sword energy, and the right side showed the head of a demon. There is a sword blade inserted in the middle, which looks very strange. Fruit. The young man woke up suddenly. He didn't care about the big bag on his head. He picked up the fruit and started to eat it. Although it was strange, he still couldn't care less than being hungry. Ugh, it tastes so bad. He stuck out his tongue and felt nauseated. But he still ate it up one bite at a time, because he was already hungry and hadn't eaten for several days. It's so hard to travel through time, help me. The young man looked up to the sky and complained, everyone is cheating every day, why do I have to worry about food every day? The boy's name is Tyr, and he is a time traveler. Wearing tattered linen clothes, his childish and shy facial features highlight his playful handsomeness. Madara is about 10 years old with black hair and a few sparrows on her cheeks. At this moment, he was holding the core of the fruit he had just eaten, pouting, his eyes filled with tears, complaining about the injustice of God. I really want to become stronger, I really want to have dreams, said Tyr, I really want to gallop across the sea and be invincible. Oops, an old man carrying a backpack suddenly appeared in the grass behind him. She lifted the grass and looked at Tyr, who was sitting on the ground and was about to cry. Monster. Tyr was frightened when he saw her old and wrinkled face. For such disrespectful behavior towards the old man, the old woman immediately hit him on the head with a stick. A small bag was stacked on top of the big bag. Ill-mannered children are not lovable, the old man said angrily. After being beaten, Tyr immediately threw away the fruit core in his hand and rolled and crawled away from her. Sitting on the ground with his butt covered in yellow mud and covering his head, Tao burst into tears. Ah, there is no justice, Tyr cried. Shouldn't the time traveler start with Long Aocean, and be proud of the world in a snap? How can I feel so aggrieved that I can't even defeat a monster? After watching the old man step out of the bush with a sickle, he realized that she was an old man. Then he looked around behind him, found a wooden stick and held it in his hand to defend himself. The old woman was not afraid to approach him at all. Advertisement, child. Why are you yelling in the jungle like a resentful woman? The old woman asked. I'm hungry. I'm looking for something to eat. Tyr held a stick in both hands and was wary of the old woman. Within a few seconds, he was afraid that the old man would hit him with the grass-cutting sickle in his hand, so he struck first. Aiming at the old man's head, trying to knock him out and run away. As soon as he stood up and jumped up to swing his stick, the old woman noticed and punched him in the face. So strong. Tyr felt the force on his fist and his gradually blurring consciousness. Why can't he even beat an elderly woman? Tyr complained in his heart, and then lost consciousness. With her legs in the air, her head in her hands, and her eyes turning white, she was completely defeated by the elderly woman in front of her. He was a young man who had just come of age. Love all kinds of cosplay comics. Finally, at a comic exhibition, I saw a bold female hero cosplaying in a cool uniform. She suddenly fell ill and died of excessive blood loss from her nostrils. After waking up, we arrived in this cozy and isolated village. D kid, if you want to attack me, you're a million years too early. The old woman knocked Tyr away, clenching her fists and looking at him with bad intentions. Lying on the grass, there was no movement. The flickering lights flashed across his blurry vision, and Tyr slowly opened his eyes and looked at the unfamiliar environment. It's over, caught by this monster. Finding that the old woman was tinkering with something in front of the stove indoors, Taylor gently lifted up the thin quilt and slipped out of bed barefoot, stepping towards the door outside the house. Where are you going? The old man said suddenly. He found me. Impossible, right? Taylor didn't pay attention and continued to walk out the door. However, he suddenly found that the fire reflected a huge black shadow, shrouding him in it. When he turned around, he seemed to see a scary old monster looking at him with a grindstone covered with green plants. Monster. Tyr was frightened and yelled. The old woman bent down and put her old face close to Tyr's face. Where are you going, kid? In Tyr's sight, she was as terrifying as a witch who wanted to eat people. Go. Outside. Tyr said, pointing to the door. Go home? No. Don't you have a home? The old woman asked again. No. Taylor answered cautiously. Ha ha ha, that's right. How can a sloppy kid like you have a home? You look like a wandering orphan. What did you say? Taylor felt insulted and retorted angrily. The elderly woman's attitude changed instantly and she said, "If you don't have a home, you can live here, but you have to work." The strong tone suddenly became gentle, and he returned to the fire to continue tinkering with the herbs for sale tomorrow morning. Taylor was also surprised and asked, "Really? You're not an old witch who kidnaps children, are you? You used your good side to trick me into staying, and then sold me to human traffickers." It is a principle of Taylor's life to be on guard against others, even if the other person does not look like a bad old woman at all. Advertisement, it's up to you. If you want to get out as soon as possible, the old woman said nonchalantly. After hesitating for a moment, Tyr finally squatted down in a dark corner of the house and did not leave. How could he give up such a good opportunity when he could get a place to live for free and fill his stomach? In this way, I quietly watched the old woman tinkering with the medicinal materials and binding them with strings until late at night. Goo. His stomach growled unsatisfactorily. "I'm hungry again." Taylor touched his hungry belly and sighed. When the old woman heard this, she immediately told him, "The food is in the freezer on your left. If you want to eat it, heat it up yourself." "Is it really possible? Haha, despite my old age, I have lived alone for decades after my wife left. It is more than enough to support you as a beggar brat." As soon as he finished speaking, the old man's waist was flashed. It is obvious that he is too old and unable to do what he wants. Seeing this, Tyr also went up to help him and asked, "You want to raise me?" Click. There was a crisp sound in her waist, and her old waist was reset. "If you're homeless, it's not something you can't consider." Yes, I am really homeless and have no relatives. Please adopt me." Tyr heard this and seized the opportunity to answer her quickly. The old man was stunned for a moment, and suddenly stared at Tyr expectantly for a long time before he recovered. "Ahem, but don't think about freeloading, you have to work every day." "No problem, I'll tinker with the herbs." Taylor immediately rushed to the medicine grinder where the old man was working, gritted his teeth and pushed back and forth quickly. Pretend to show off to the old man. He didn't know how to use medicine to crush him, so he picked up the stone and hit it hard twice. A click. The medicine in front of him instantly broke into two pieces and fell to the floor. What's going on? Why is it broken?" Taylor turned to look at the old woman with an embarrassed look on his face. The old woman's face darkened, and she silently stretched out her hand to the pile of slender wood on the side and picked up a slender wooden stick. "I was wrong. Farmers wearing straw hats and carrying hoes on their way home passed by here late at night." Watching the scene in the window where the old woman beats Tyr until he jumped on his feet. "What is old Dr. Karina doing? No matter how you look at it, it seems like you are educating a child. He is still so energetic even though he is over 100 years old." "Huh?" The two farmers passing by were suddenly stunned and looked at each other. At the same time, he said, "No, does she have grandchildren?" "I'm grinding tools for medicine, you naughty brat." It makes no sense. I am the protagonist. "What kind of protagonist are you? Work hard for me from now on and pay off the medicine grinding tools I have used for decades." In this way, on the first day after Ty was adopted, he ate a delicious meal of jumping rice noodles from the old couple and was chased up and down in the house. Chapter 2 The Body of Sword Chi. Early the next morning, the old Karina gave Tyr 1,000 belly and went with her to the market to sell medicine. "How much does a stone mortar cost?" Taylor said while standing in front of a mason's stall. The market was full of people of all kinds early in the morning. 1,000 Baileys, excellent workmanship." Really?" Taylor looked questioning. "Kid, your face looks very strange. Don't you know that I am the best stonemason in Dex Village?" Tisk, tisk, tisk. "I really don't know, I don't even believe it unless you let me check it." The boss was speechless for a while. If he hadn't seen that Tyr was a child, he would have thought that Tyr was here to cause trouble. "Let you check it. If the quality is not good, I will give you a 50% discount, the mason said angrily. Haha. Okay, I'll choose. Tyr stretched out his neck and showed his shining eyes to carefully select. That's it. Taylor touched a cracked stone mortar. If I knock it twice and it cracks, you have to give me a 50% discount. Okay. Ha 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 ha. The boss saw that Tyr was so determined to test, and it was not unreasonable. What strength does a 10-year-old child have? Can he break a solid product? It's actually possible. The one Taylor picked happened to have cracks. If you adjust the angle slightly and bump it hard twice, it will definitely break. Hi. Hey, you can't hit like this. You can't raise your hands so high to hit. Bang. With his young height, Tyr lifted the stone mortar and smashed it to the ground. Once, twice. Under Tyr's force, the cracked surface of the stone mortar was directly broken into two halves and shattered on the ground. Then, Tyr pursed his lips with a smile on his face, stretched out 5 fingers and looked at the boss. Uncle, you said, 50% off, Lousy really wants to break your bones. The boss clenched his fists, veins appeared on the back of his hands and stared at Tyr fiercely through gritted teeth. The sandbag-sized fist trembled slightly as the boss exerted force. If Tyr hadn't been a child, he would have killed Tyr with one punch. You. What am I? You said you would get a 50% discount. Okay, as an adult, you can do that if you don't care about the villain. The boss is so kind. Tyr secretly rejoiced and was already happy. In this way, he had 500 bellies pocket money. Picking up the stone mortar, Tyr returned to Karina's stall selling medicinal herbs and looked at her with a confident smile on her swollen cheeks. Bought it back, Karina. I just bought a stone mortar. Why are you so happy? Karina asked. Advertisement, ha ha ha. Can't I be happy? Tyr put the stone mortar into the basket on Karina's back, put his hands on his hips and looked up to the sky with a smile. Don't be such a b********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** It's in room 3 to 1 of the dock area. I only had one meal after you beat me last night, and now I'm still hungry. Go quickly. Although he was a little reluctant, Tyr still squeezed through the crowd with a handful of medicine and headed to the dock area. Boom, boom, boom. Taking a shortcut through the alley, he soon came to the door of house no 3 to 1. Tyr knocked on the door hard with his fist. Is there anyone? I'm here to deliver medicine to you. The door of the house opened, and an old man with a gray beard who was more than 10 feet tall appeared in front of Tyr. Who are you, kid? Karina's agent came here specially to deliver medicine to you. Tyr stretched out his hand and handed the medicine to him. Huh? She is so old, can she still pay you wages? As long as you can eat enough. After delivering the medicine, Tyr had a gray money bag in his hand containing 2,000 belly. He was shocked. Is it obvious that just a mention of medicine is worth 2,000 yuan? Tyr stopped at the steps of the pier and stood there blankly staring at the sea. The endless ocean appeared before his eyes, giving him the illusion that there was no land around the sea except for the village. It's great, island life. As always, holding the money bag, he continued to take a shortcut through an alley, but was robbed by a few gangsters holding wine bottles. Hey, kid, please be wise and hand over the money bag in your hand. Save me the pain of your skin. Several gangsters chased each other step by step in the alley, forcing Tyr to the corner of a dead end. He held the money bag tightly in his hand and had no intention of handing it over to these gangsters in the alley. What's the law of heaven? Tyr yelled, and was laughed at by several people. Ha ha ha, Tianli? Now we're your Tianli, so you have to give us the money. If you don't, I'll tell Marine to arrest you. Taylor was a little scared. Forget it, it's just a child anyway, kill him and throw him into the sea. Tyr's whole body softened after hearing this. When he realized that he had said something wrong, he immediately took the money bag and offered it to him with both hands. As the old saying goes, a man who can bend and stretch is a husband. At least Tyr had to find a way to save his life now. His 10-year-old body would never be able to defeat these strong men. Here you go. Don't kill me, huh? You're quite sensible, but what did you just say? I didn't say anything. 4 eldest brothers, please be kind and let me go. The gangster reached out to take the money bag and found that Tyr was still holding the money bag tightly and couldn't bear to let go. Advertisement so, he pulled hard and pulled out Tyr's hand as well. Hey, why did you break your hand off? Marine will arrest us. Something's wrong. Look at his hands. Tyr's eyes widened as he watched his hand transform into a fluctuating aura. My hand, monster. What's going on? Tyr was so shocked that he couldn't calm down. Although his hand seemed to be torn off, what came out was white sharp waves. The 4 people who robbed him were so frightened that they all sat on the ground and looked horrified. Who are you, kid? Are you deliberately walking in the alley to seduce us in search of prey? It must be a terrifying legend on the sea, a monster that eats people. Kill him quickly. The 3 of them were shocked as they watched a copper holding a stick and swiping at Tyr with all his strength. Quick. Beat him to death. They reached an agreement, picked up the stick and swung it at Tyr. The stick is empty. What's going on? Why can't you hit his body? If I hit him harder, I might be able to kill him. When Tyr's face showed despair, he found that the sticks in their hands passed through his body and he felt no pain at all. Instead, an unprecedented strange feeling appeared in his body. His body turned into sharp airwaves, and every airwave on his body was controlled by him. It gradually turned into a transparent sword energy hovering in the air. Here comes my G cheat, Tyr said excitedly. His hands that fell to the ground turned into swords floating in the air. Monster. This brat is a monster. What are you doing standing still? Run quickly. All the surrounding auras are connected to Tyr's body. Countless sword energy merged and condensed, spinning rapidly around his body. The torn-off palm also quickly condensed and recovered, and Tyr was surprised to feel the changes in his body. Damn it, chi control turns into a sword, he casually thought in shock. The sword energy swirling around him became faster and faster, and the amount increased, causing Tyr to suddenly feel uncomfortable and dizzy. Huh? What's going on? At the last moment, Tyr aimed his hand at several gangsters and gave the order to pursue them, and then he fell sideways in the alley. Several soldiers in marine uniforms heard the sound and rushed over. Hey, what happened? Is there another private fight? He walked into the alley with a gun and found 4 adults on the ground, including Yun Tai and Tyr. The scent of sword energy still lingered on the ground like rolling thorns. It hurts. The soldier stretched out his hand to touch and check, and his palm was slightly cut by the sword energy. What is this? In short, arrest them first and ask them questions after they wake up. Chapter 3 Natural Death. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Marine soldiers shouted in unison outside, and Tell looked out at the playground through the window. An officer came to the room where he was. We have learned what happened, kid, this is your money. The officer said. Then he handed the money bag that he had dropped earlier to Tyr. Thank you. Can I go? Of course. But I have something to ask. The officers and soldiers suddenly looked curious and said, what did they say about your monster? After collecting the money, Tyr knew what kind of power he had awakened at that time, and that power split into countless thin swords hovering around his body. Until the body released too much, causing exhaustion of physical strength and passing out. They are obviously thieves and shouting to catch thieves. How can I, a child, be a monster? Tell said to the officer. The officer looked indifferent, rubbed his chin and thought for a moment before nodding. That's right, these people are habitual offenders. Tyr left the Marine branch alone and returned to the village market to hand over the money to the elderly Karina. Evening. After following Karina home after buying the medicine, and after eating the meal prepared by Karina, Tyr went to the forest alone. He stood under some thick trees and looked at his hands. I didn't have this kind of power before. I couldn't fight back even if I was bullied by other kids. What's going on? After speaking, Tyr began to recall the feeling in the alley before. He tried to summon the power in his body, and the sword energy began to flow out of his body and appeared around him. Tyr looked at the white breath rolling rapidly on his hand in shock. This breath seems to be able to be emitted. In order to confirm the doubts in his heart, he stretched out his hand and aimed at the thick tree in front of him. Soon, the sword energy in his hand quickly condensed into a sword that hovered in front of him. The condensed sword energy rushed out towards the tree in front, instantly penetrated a large hole and then disappeared. At this moment, Tyr could no longer contain his excitement. Tyr clenched his fists with a grin on his face. Just wait for me, those nasty kids who bully me. I'm going to beat the crap out of them and go home so my parents can change their pants. Just do what you say. Tyr begins his road to revenge. Entrance to Quayside Block. The rays of light reflected Tyr's stalwart little figure, with 7 to 8 kids standing in front of him who were almost the same age as him. Teal, you are a beggar and an unwanted child. Are you here to teach me a lesson again? It seems that the punishment was gentle last time. This time we want you to look good. Take off his pants and parade him through the streets. Come on, F*K him. The children charged at Tyr, who was facing an upturned corner of his mouth. Advertisement, Tell's chest rolled up and began to laugh. Oh, ha 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 ha. Come on, I'll be your opponent. I couldn't beat him before, which is an insult to Tyr's status as an adult before he traveled through time. How can an adult not beat a child? For this to spread, it would be a great shame. I'm going to hang you on the pier and sing oh yeah. The battle lasted less than a minute, and the 7 unrecognizable children were walked towards the dock with Tyr tied behind them. The 7 of them were hung on an entrance gate made of ship masts at the pier, and all of them were bruised and beaten into panda eyes. Because he didn't dare to show off his abilities too much, they also beat him with a bruise on his left eye. If the fruit is triggered, these children will be cut into corpses if they touch it. He has no intention of embarking on a life of crime. Let us go, you scoundrels. I am the grandson of the village chief. Tyr, you can't do this to me. You're so strong. What did you learn? How can I hit you so softly? Several children kept wailing, some were crying, and some were so scared that they peed their pants and begged for mercy. Shut up, I'll only teach him once, and you won't be able to learn how to beat him up. Tyr coughed a few times and cleared his throat. Then he used their underdeveloped voices to teach them all to sing, OEH tune. A few people waited at the pier until the fishermen landed the fish. The red sun gradually disappeared on the horizon of the sea, and they were not discovered until night came. Oh, yeah, I don't dare to bully the less with more, woo 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 woo. Oh, yeah, don't tell me, it sounds pretty good. The fishermen looked surprised. After they put it down, they learned what happened. They organized the parents of the children to come to Karina's house and cursed Tell. Karina, you are older and we respect you, but what should we do if our child is made like this by that B***************************************************************************************************************************** They keep that weird song when they come home. If you don't learn well at such a young age, what will happen when you grow up? They were full of slander and attacks on Tyr. The elderly Karina sympathized with Tyr after hearing his explanation. He fought with the Confucian scholars and defeated them all with dentures. He was the only pharmacist and doctor in the village, and no one dared to disrespect her, so they left after making a fuss without any results. Cow. Taylor leaned against the window and gave her a thumbs up. Ha ha ha, of course. I was a military doctor when I was young. Karina laughed and put on her dentures. Dang. Taylor clapped his hands and applauded her. Advertisement. He returned to the house and looked at Tyr. Teal, remember, never let anyone bully you. If anyone dares to hit you, fight back bravely. This is what a man is. Good. Tyr kept praising Karina, deeply impressed by her heroine's character. The main reason was that she protected Tyr in front of everyone, otherwise Tyr would have been extremely wronged. It would be great if I could have a naughty grandson like you. Karina returned to her stone mortar and continued tinkering with the various medicinal materials she would sell tomorrow. Since I was adopted by you and ate your food, there is no doubt that you can treat me as your grandson, Karina. Karina stopped what she was doing and turned to look at Tyr with wide eyes. Really? Well, I'm a wild child anyway. Tyr didn't care about such things. Because, in this unfamiliar ocean world, he can better understand the world if he has someone to belong to. He was held in Karina's arms. Thank you, but you should call me Karina from now on, lest I feel old. Ahem. Taylor asked, almost being strangled. How old are you, Karina? I'm only 102 years old, and I'm still in my youth, ha ha ha. Thank you for taking me in. I will take care of you till the end of your life, Karina. It is rare to have such a healthy body at such an old age. To thank her for taking him in, Taylor stayed with her for 4 years. Time flies. He accompanies Karina every day to collect and sell medicines, and lives a peaceful life. An incident occurred in the lake, and Tyr discovered that his ability was not a cheat brought by the time travelers. It was the ability to accidentally eat a Logia devil fruit. Although it is not yet certain whether it is Logia, it already has the characteristics of Logia. For example, the elements are transformed into sword energy with offensive power. During this period, he also worked hard to develop the power of his fruit ability. As he became stronger, he also lost the only old man who took him in. On Karina's 106th birthday, she died naturally lying on a medicine table chair. Following the law of natural death, Tyr was not too sad, but felt a little panicked in his heart. I always feel like something is missing in my life. He personally held a decent and gorgeous funeral for her, and buried her body forever under the big tree in the jungle where she met her. Teal was 14 years old this year. The funeral cost Karina all her savings. The money that Tyr had saved for many years was also spent on her. Although he was a little heartbroken, Taylor did not regret doing so. The house was reclaimed by the village chief, and without Karina's status in the village, Tel was alienated by the villagers. Teal lived as a homeless teenager again for several months, and then he made a decision that would affect his life. Chapter 4 Mission, Follow the Warship to Sea. Haiyuan Calendar Year 1516. Registration desk outside the Marine Branch Gate. Name: Tyr. Age: just turned 14. Teal's birthday is May 19th. You're too young to be a combatant. But you can start as a cleaner, and when you get older you can slowly get promoted. In front of the main gate of the Marine Branch, Civilian introduced to Taylor in detail the laws and rules of joining Marine. In order to live a better life, he cannot embark on the path of criminal pirates. If anyone with a correct outlook on life knows what it means to be a pirate. So, he decided to join Marine. Can the janitor get enough to eat? Ha 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 ha, don't worry, as long as you work hard and eat whatever you want, there will never be a shortage of food in the Marine Branch. Then I do. Working as a cleaner at the Marine Branch gave Tyr a place to live and a small salary. Tel also lived very comfortably in this environment, because there were much fewer underage jobs than other soldiers. Whenever night falls, he trains physically alone on the dark playground. Logia fruit ability can be said to be very powerful. But Tyr knew that if he didn't keep up with his physical skills, he would be in a tough fight against an enemy with strong physical combat ability. Moreover, in a place like the Grand Line, the Marine Branch's warships are always mobilized to stop pirates. Every once in a while, Tyr would see Marine who went out to sea to stop pirates and come back in a state of embarrassment, covered in wounds. 6 o'clock in the morning. Tel woke up from the dormitory, skillfully picked up the work tools and cleaned around the branch fortress. Several of our cleaners who followed us out didn't come back. Could something happen? On the sea at the pier, a warship with black smoke was approaching. Marine quickly gathered and headed to the dock to prepare for rescue. Another warship came back this way. Tyr looked out the window at the sea and the base. Look, it's like this again. When will it be time for us to face that terrible pirate? Several colleagues who worked with Teal became scared, but he continued to focus on his work and did not care about such things. Hey, kid, aren't you afraid that we will be dragged to work as cleaners on the ship? On this day, they yelled and asked questions to Tyr, who had not said a word. I'm not afraid, Taylor responded to them. Advertisement. You read in the dormitory every day and don't speak. I thought you were mute. You have something on your mind, ha ha ha. Without speaking, Tyr was digesting Karina's death these days. The book I read was the life diary Karina left behind in this world. Teal also learned everything from her youth to her old age, and learned a lot of life philosophy. Her most important thing is, don't trust any pirate. They will make you your enemy at all costs for the sake of their companions, and they will even kill your loved ones to achieve revenge. Such words were ignored by Taylor. He just wants to be himself. In the eyes of the base commander, Knowles, Tell was a child and he was not taken with him every time he went out to sea for missions. Time passed, and everyone who worked with Tell disappeared on the returning warship. One morning. Boom. The empty dormitory room was pushed open by a soldier. Tile handyman. Arrive. Put on your uniform and prepare to board the ship and go to sea. You have been selected to be one of the cleaners for this mission. Is it finally here for me? Tyr, who has been training himself and waiting for opportunities, waited for his first mission to go to sea. Taylor saluted and smiled. Yes, you are quite motivated. This mission is very dangerous. That's such an honor. Not only was Taylor not afraid, but he was also looking forward to it. Ever since he knew that his fruit power was Logia, he has been developing the fruit for the past 4 years. As for why the sword energy is called Logia, it's because Tyr feels that he can become elemental like a Logia user. It can be said that Paramecia and Logia made him very surprised, but he also accepted it happily. It was finally time to put it into action. About 200 soldiers gathered at the dock and stood neatly in several rows. There were only 7 people working as handymen, which allowed Teal to see what class division is. Handymen are not even qualified to join the regular army. Tyr waited for all the able-bodied soldiers to board the deck before he started his work. Clean the plaster on the steps and decks, and enter the middle deck to find your own hammock resting place. Then, the warship Yongfan went to sea and left the Marine branch base. Mid-deck, cleaner's lounge. Listen, our job is to keep the deck moist and clean, got it? How many times have I told you this? Tell whispered as he lay in his hammock. Advertisement still immersed in the thoughts of Karina's death. This was overheard by the cleaning supervisor who spoke. After the cleaning supervisor came to the Tell hammock, he took a whip and whipped it directly. Snapped. What the hell are you doing? Tyr angrily yelled at the man who hit him. You should be beaten if you talk back to your boss. Tyr's face showed anger, and he immediately clenched his fists, wrapped his sword energy around it, and breathed on his face. One punch hit the cleaning manager's face until blood flowed, and the sword energy cut his skin, causing him to cover his face in pain and disbelief. Everyone was shocked. Unexpectedly, Taylor, who has always been honest, would be so bold and dared to beat the cleaning supervisor on the ship. I usually finish my work ahead of schedule, so why should I hit lousy? It's totally unreasonable. Smelly brat. Tyr was whipped hard on the back, and a blood red line was drawn because he was unprepared. Be careful, lousy will kill you, Tyr suddenly said sharply. Cleaners do not belong to the regular army. They are equivalent to workers cleaning on Marine warships, so Marine will most likely not care about their affairs. This drink completely shocked the bullying cleaning supervisor. What's the matter with you? You usually look so honest and honest. There was no wind in the middle-level lounge, but a strong cyclone was generated around Tyr's body, hovering around him. This makes other people feel very strange. An adult handyman who had a good relationship with his supervisor and knew that Tyr was Karina helped him up from the floor. Stop making trouble, he just lost a relative not long ago. What are you arguing about inside? Fighting is not allowed on the warship. From now on, we are all comrades, please live in harmony. The Marine soldier came looking for the voice. No. Nothing, it's just that someone accidentally fell from the hammock. Seeing that the supervisor didn't want to cause trouble, Taylor crawled back onto his bed and looked out the window at the sea. This feeling is not sadness, but cherishment and longing for the person who has passed away. It's more like a kind of growth that takes time to digest slowly. You are a devil fruit user, right? The cyclone that was gradually formed around your body just now must be the effect of the ability being activated, right? The supervisor took a towel to stop the blood on his face and came behind Tyr and asked. There are countless people with devil fruit abilities in the Grand Line, so almost everyone living in this sea area knows about it. Don't mess with me. If you whip me again, the consequences will be serious. Sorry, I didn't know that your relative passed away. The supervisor apologized and returned to his bed. The skin on his face cut by the sword energy disfigured him, but even so, he didn't care. Teal just didn't want others to bully him, so he acted a little strong due to his emotions. His identity as a devil fruit ability user quickly spread among the warships, and Knowles also became interested in Tyr. Chapter 5 A Blockbuster. The roar of artillery fire awakened all those who were sleeping. The flickering oil lamp fell from the rafters of Tell's bunk onto the wet deck. The interior of the warship is on fire. Run quickly and jump into the sea. The other people who woke up quickly ran to the upper deck. As soon as they ran out of the steps, they were knocked down by bullets and wailed loudly. What's going on? Tyr quickly stood up and slowly poked his head upward to check. Stretch out your palm and use sword energy to instantly extinguish the fire inside. The warship was attacked by pirates at night while sailing, and the two sides started a fight. Because of his short stature, Tell climbed onto the deck and hid behind a barrel. Repel them. These guys want to plunder arms. The weapons were exchanged, and thick blood flowed from Tyr's body into the deck steps. The bloody scene sent chills down his back, and he had never seen such a scene before. Brothers, kill Marine and grab the valuable arms. The pirate captain and Colonel Knowles commanded his soldiers to fight. Every second someone falls in a pool of blood. Condensation. Tyr activated his ability to use sword energy around his body to prevent him from being accidentally injured by flying bullets. Then, he waved his finger to a saber on the deck and said, "Come on." The knife summoned by him immediately flew into his hand following Tyr's command. Taking a knife is just for self-defense, just in case. Tyr, who has not experienced actual combat, has no idea how powerful he is now. Therefore, he worked step by step to protect himself, and at the same time he was also curious about this kind of close-quarters combat. After all, he is a young man, who has not imagined the scene and sweet dream of fighting in a bloody battle among thousands of armies. He watched each life disappear from his eyes. Is life so fragile? Tyr's eyes gradually turned red. Boom. The big wooden barrel where Tyr was hiding was opened by the pirates. He held a big knife and looked down at Tyr with a pale face and extremely ferocious face. "Here's a little marine thing, ha ha ha, go to hell." After a laugh, he swung the knife at Tyr. The pirate has no mercy for weak creatures. He takes pleasure in killing and now he just wants blood to flow everywhere. The blade fell quickly. Seeing this, Tyr's eyes widened, and he subconsciously clenched his right fist and unleashed a sharp sword energy on him with all his strength. Boom. A ray of white light flashed in everyone's eyes, and the huge impact of the sword energy soaring into the sky penetrated the pirate's chest and flew straight into the dark night clouds. Advertisement, what's going on? Everyone was shocked by the huge movement, and all their eyes were focused on Tyr's location. You. The pirate who swung the knife at Tyr looked at his frightened face, not expecting that such a little thing could have such terrifying power. Killed someone. I killed someone. Tyr couldn't believe that his instinctive blow was so powerful. The crew on the warship is real, you really have a devil fruit. Although Tyr has killed people at this moment, there was no sense of guilt or blame in his heart. His feeling told him that he would be hit if he didn't take action, and he didn't know if the sword energy protection on his body could withstand the pirate's sword. The nervous tail had obviously forgotten that he was an esper, and it was almost impossible to hurt him without domineering power. Unless you were unprepared, his natural fear of knives and guns caused him to react immediately. Damn marine brat. His partner was stabbed through the chest, and the pirates were furious and ran towards him with their knives. Taylor quickly stood up and squeezed with his right hand. The huge sword energy that had just rushed up into the clouds condensed into hundreds of swords controlled by him. Go. Tyr waved his palm and aimed at the pirate ship. He was a little flustered and was not yet proficient in actual combat. In order not to hurt innocent people, we can only target the pirates' ships first. The pirates all stared up at the transparent swords in the sky in shock. What is that? She forms a sword. The sword rain from the sky instantly penetrated the mast of the pirate ship. It penetrated the deck of the pirate ship. It penetrated all the objects and creatures on the pirate ship, causing their screams to reach everyone's ears along with the strong wind. Our ship. The pirates looked at the hull that was destroyed piece by the rain of swords, and everyone lost their will to fight. A desperate blow, as if the dream had been destroyed. The sword energy continued to rush into the seabed and disappeared until the pirate ship was completely sunk. You. The pirate who stayed on the spot suddenly turned around and roared at Tyr, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Before surrendering, at least kill this brat. Boom. With a distance of only about 5 meters, the pirate aimed his pistol at Tell and fired. Tyr's pupils suddenly shrank, and he felt cold at that time. However, the moment he felt the bullet pass through his brain, he remembered that he could become elemental. Bu. The bullets cut into pieces by the sword energy left bullet marks on the wall of the warship behind him. Advertisement. The bullet penetrated the brain and he still didn't die. How is this possible? Knowles was so shocked that he saw something familiar with his eyes wide open. Isn't that the Logia fruit ability that only generals have? Arrest them. Knowles, who recovered from the shock, immediately ordered the arrest when he saw that the pirates had no way to escape. The pirate's hull sank into the sea and he did not dare to make any resistance. If the hull was still there, even if they were unable to defeat Marine, they would still be able to escape Marine's pursuit. Ah, kid. You are a devil fruit user, right? You must be afraid of the seawater. The pirate captain refused to give in and was arrested. He used brute force to rush towards Tyr, trying to kill the Marine kid who destroyed his ship. Tyr held his saber in front of him to protect himself, but was knocked away by the pirate captain's huge force. During this period, he discovered that as long as the pirate captain let go, there was nothing he could do to him. So Tell decisively let go. Sure enough, it was just as he expected. The moment the saber came out of his hand, Tyr's body turned into a ball of sharp sword energy. The pirate captain screamed miserably the moment he passed through Tyr's body. As if his whole body was cut to pieces by 1,000 swords, he fell to the side of the ship and fainted. It was a false alarm. It scared me to death. Only then did Tyr realize how powerful his fruit ability was. A false alarm? Knowles came to Tyr and looked at him sitting on the ground picking his head. The shock in my heart was indescribable. I could only report everything I saw with my own eyes to the headquarters and ask the headquarters to make a decision on this matter. The medic on the deck carries a medical kit to rescue injured soldiers. Tyr looked up at Noruz and found that he was staring at him as if he were looking at a treasure. Basic Commander, you. What are you doing? Haha, good job. I remember your name. What is it? Knowles didn't have the time to remember the name of an unknown person. Teal, my name is Tyr. Oh, tell, when you are on mission outside, you should call me Colonel Knowles, not the base commander. Oh. Tyr looked around the deck and found that everyone's eyes on him had changed. The eyes were full of awe and affirmation, without the contempt and indifference before. He entered the bathroom to wash off the blood on his body, and returned to the janitor's lounge to find that there was no one in the room. The handyman and cleaner who had the same status as him all entered the infirmary. This ability is too strong, Tyr said, looking at his hand. If he wants to attack someone, he can release sword energy from a distance and condense it into a sword. If he wants to control objects from a distance, he only needs to use his hands to activate the power in his body to connect with the surrounding air, and then he can achieve the power of controlling objects from a distance. If others try to attack him with bare hands, they will be injured by the sword energy that he transformed into, which is as dangerous as ordinary people touching magma. Chapter 6: Fighting and arriving at the mission location. After returning to the lounge, Taylor couldn't sleep all night. He was still thinking about the pirate who had penetrated his chest before, as if he was staring at him in the dark. I obviously didn't feel anything when I accidentally killed him, Tyr whispered while lying in his hammock. He never thought he would do such a thing as killing someone, and he couldn't adapt to it for a while. A few days since then, the warship came to an island occupied by pirates and carried out brutal plunder. Captain Nevis, the marine warship is coming, the sailor shouted. The docks were piled with the trophies they had plundered from the towns, and the sailors were carrying them to the pirate ships. Fire! Knowles ordered. Hi. Several shells were aimed at the pirate ship at the dock and accurately hit the side of the ship. F*K again. Inside the cabin, Taylor was cleaning the deck with a soaked rag. The other cleaning handymen with bandages on their heads were immediately frightened and stayed in the warship and did not dare to run out and cause trouble again. Hey, you guys, stop cleaning. Get your guns and land on the island to prepare for war. Stop cleaning, Tyr, we need your power. The corridor that had just been cleaned was trampled and soiled again, and the hard work done early in the morning was soiled by other people's feet. Damn it. Tyr was so confused that he threw the rag on the floor. I am a handyman, so I am not qualified to participate in the war. Colonel's orders. Yes, Taylor sighed helplessly. He has no combat experience and is about to enter the battlefield at the age of 14? Ha. He laughed suddenly and followed the soldiers to the weapons room to get a gun. He had been trained when he joined the branch, so he knew how to shoot. A gun? This kind of thing doesn't seem to be effective against strong people, Tell said. Indeed, but it's still uncomfortable for them to be hit. Boom. The warship was affected by the impact of the shell explosion and shook greatly on the sea. I'm still underage. Can I not join the war? No, as long as you join Marine, you will have to go to the battlefield to train no matter how old you are. All right. Tell followed the steps of the soldiers to the upper deck. The gunshots everywhere made him a little scared. He stuck his head out and said doubtfully, if these people have sea tower stone bullets and know how to use domineering, I will be disappointed. Advertisement. Let's go quickly, Tyr, show off your previous momentum. When the warship docked, the pirates who had not all boarded the pirate ship immediately ran to the island, looking for bunkers to deal with the marine. The double-barreled gun, Nevis Pirate Group. The bounty is 13 million belly. They are really a heavyweight pirate group. Norris's words were heard by Tyr. At the entrance to the dock town, the pirate captain aimed the double-barreled cannon on his back at the warship and laughed. Ha. Watch me sink you, cowardly marine. You have done many evil things, and you will all be arrested on the spot today, Nocti said. He waved the saber in his hand and ordered more than 200 soldiers to charge towards the pirates. The town is burning. Tyr looked at the town below with wide eyes. The scene of a sea of fire can be described as hell on earth. The cannonballs fired several rounds from the double-barreled cannon on the pirate captain's back, approaching the warship. Knowles drew his sword and swung it in the air, smashing 2 cannons into the air. Stop looking, Tyr, go down and practice in reality. Tyr held the gun very hesitantly, waiting for the other soldiers to land on the island while he was still on the boat. Actually, I can fight on the ship, Tell said to the colonel. Really? Kindness. In the 4 years of fruit development, Tyr's sword energy was no longer as strenuous as it was before. Throwing away the gun in his hand, all the sword energy burst out of his body and condensed into 9 rotating sword blades around his body. I can control them to attack enemies within a diameter of 20 meters. The rapidly rotating sword blade around Tyr's body had already shocked Norlis. Then I saw him controlling 9 swords and rushing into the air. The gunners on the pirate ship fought back, and Tyr immediately responded with his own abilities. The 9 sword hilts are stuck in the air to form a sword energy shield. Boom! The cannonball hit the sword shield. Together with the explosion smoke and dust, the explosion impact was all intercepted in the air. What is that, a sword? The pirate gunner was shocked, not believing that there was such an ability in the world. Launch continuously. See how he blocks it, high, high, high. All 6 cannons on the right side of the pirate ship were fired. Over the past 4 years, Tyr, who had long since integrated the separate sword energy into one body and could control it at will, responded immediately. The sword shield disintegrated, splitting into 6 swords that kept up with the speed of the cannonballs, penetrated them and exploded in the air. The other 3 swords rushed towards the pirate ship and fought with the sailors on the pirate ship. Advertisement: what a great ability, Tyr. Since you also have combat effectiveness on the warship, I ask you to protect the warship from cannonball attacks. Knowles jumped off the ship and went to lead the soldiers on the battlefield. After seeing Teal's ability, he was relieved to hand over the warship to him. No problem. Taylor gave him an okay gesture. Teal also discovered a fundamental problem when using this trick. That is, the farther away the sword energy is, the less damage it will do. To enemies far away, you need to get closer to exert its full power. The range of the blade he currently controls to condense the sword energy is 20 meters, and the upper limit of the number of split blades has not been tried. The pirate ship happened to be within 20 meters, within his attack range. Our mission is to arrest pirates and save residents. The soldiers charged the pirates in the town. The scene was once spectacular, but it was far less spectacular than in Tyr. What is this? The sailor on the pirate ship swung his sword at Tyr's sword energy, but the force was too small to repel it. Instead, his own hand was cut by the sword energy, and his body began to shake. Sword Chi Lingyun. Tyr shouted sharply. The 9 controlled sword blades hovered over the pirate ship, and accelerated downward from the tip of the sword in an instant. Boom! The sword energy penetrated the deck layer, and the impact knocked away the pirates above. 9 holes were created on the pirate ship that penetrated the seabed. It's over, the hull is leaking, it's going to sink into the dock. Are you a devil fruit user, Marine? Damn it. Nieves wanted to protect his ship, but underestimated the destructive power of Tyr's moves. Every sword hit the pirate ship, and the power was much greater than the cannon. Moreover, the aftermath of the sword energy cut wildly on the deck of the pirate ship, and the pirates involved immediately let out heart-rending screams. Why do you feel like I'm a fantasy character in the pirate world? Boom! Bullets flew toward Tyr's brain. Without hesitation, he stretched out his hand and aimed at the pirate ship in the distance. Sword energy impact. Boom! A powerful sword energy rushed out of Tyr's right arm, and the entire warship slightly moved back due to the recoil of his move. Wherever the breath of white waves passes, the sea roars and fish surge. The moment it hit the pirate ship head-on, a huge hole penetrated the entire hull as if it was going to explode. And it just happened in a split second. It can be seen how terrifying the power of Tyr's moves is. All of them are killing moves, and they are extremely powerful. Chapter 7 Akainu's summoning order. The pirate ship sank into the dock harbor, with half of its hull exposed from the sea. The pirates in the town resisted to the death, and the soldiers fought bravely to repel them one by one. Tyr walked off the warship after sinking the pirate ship. When they came to the pile of supplies they plundered, they took a pack of snacks from the wooden box. Several high-speed rotating sword blades quickly condensed around his waist. Nieves. You scum that destroys civilization. Knowles brandished his saber and fought hand-to-hand with the pirate captain. You bastards, Marine, do you know how many years of our dreams were carried on that ship? What it carries is just a tool for committing crimes of blood and killing. The colonel and the pirate captain were evenly matched. Seeing this, Tyr controlled the sword and rushed towards the pirate captain. The sword blade flew past the pirate captain and sliced off the gun barrel behind him. The pirate captain touched his gun barrel in shock. You be asterisk 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 D brat. He was furious and distracted at that moment. Knowles' saber struck him in front, seriously wounding him. Ah, well done, Tyr. It's a piece of cake, Colonel. Tell said it was easy. The pirate captain was injured and fell to the ground. He wanted to get up and continue to resist, but his neck was held by Knowles' saber. Don't move, or I'll cut it off for you. I am the great pirate of Nieves with the double-barreled gun. Your men destroyed my famous weapon. The captain gritted his teeth and looked at Tyr, who was leisurely walking into the town with eyes wide open. Huh? Taylor's nerves collapsed and he looked back at the dock with some bad premonition. Nieves, accept your prison sentence well. You are delusional. Let's fall into hell together. The pirate captain instantly detonated the cannon device behind him. Knowles was shocked when he saw it. He wanted to escape but found it was too late. Boom. A huge fire cloud rose into the sky amidst the roar of the dock, and a terrifying heat wave swept through the surrounding area. Colonel. Captain Nevis. As the gray smoke dissipated, Nolas put his hands in front of his body and closed his eyes tightly, surrounded by an invisible sword energy that completely enveloped him. Huh? He found that his body was not affected by the explosion, and he was shocked again when he opened his eyes. Tyr stretched out his palm towards him and poured sword energy into his body to resist the fatal explosion. Are you okay, Colonel? Taylor said in disbelief. Advertisement. The pirate captain did not hesitate to blow himself up and die with Marine. It's terrible. The pirate captain, who was bent over and lying on the ground, had become distorted, and the flesh and blood inside his body was very ugly. No. It's okay. Knowles recovered from the shock and said, then raised his saber high. Pirates, your captain has been defeated. If you don't want to die, put down your weapons immediately. Damn it. It's obviously just one step away. Every pirate's face was filled with helplessness. Losing the hull and captain was like losing their backbone, leaving each of them despondent and unable to resist. Don't move. Put down your weapons. Otherwise we will shoot. All the soldiers aimed their guns at the pirates. We surrender. The pirates raised their hands and surrendered. But his eyes were always focused on the most conspicuous Tyr. The strangely rotating blade, its terrifying destructive power and attack power frightened them. The fires burning in the town had reduced the houses to charcoal, and those horrific scenes were reflected in Tyr's eyes. The child cried while holding the corpses of his parents. The white-haired man gives the black-haired man a gift. After actually entering the town, I discovered that it was hell on the outside, but purgatory inside the town. Master Marine. Please save the mother in the house, a little girl cried and begged Tyr. Tyr walked directly into the flames, and the flames could not hurt him at all. An adult woman was found unconscious on the ground. Get up. Tail controlled the sword energy to suspend him in the air and take him out of the house, then placed him in front of the little girl. Is she your mother? Thank you so much. It's okay. Haha, I'm a Marine. Taylor felt very comfortable after being thanked. It seems that there are only a very small number of pirates like Luffy in this world, and most pirates plunder civilization like bandits. Tyr thought to himself as he walked towards other places that needed help. He soon understood that if the pirates were really as harmonious as in the original work, then why do they need a force like Marine? The town before him that was being plundered by pirates was the answer. No matter what happens, I will just be myself. The rescue operation lasted for a long time before ending. Pier. Tyr knelt on the ground and vomited crazily. He saw something during the rescue operation that made him very sick to his stomach. The human body is burned into a pile of kurozumi, and the bones are exposed in the blackened charcoal building. I still can't get used to it. Advertisement. Sure enough, you are still too young and have too little experience. Ha ha ha. The colonel said, patting Tyr's back gently. I vomited out all the snacks I just ate. Death seems to be everywhere in this world. How could Tyr experience this when he lived in peaceful times? But he adapted quickly. Such an experience made him more determined to become stronger. In the next few days, warships docked at the dock to provide accommodation for the town's victims so that they could get back on their feet and develop the town. Deep in the island, Tyr held the hilt made of condensed sword energy and practiced slashing at the surrounding trees quickly. His performance was directly promoted to a special soldier as an exception, so he no longer had to do so many chores. In the warship. In the colonel's office. Knowles used a phone bug to contact Marinefondo headquarters. Reported everything related to Teal. This quickly attracted the attention of senior officials. A warship led by Knowles also received the general's summons. A fleet led by Akainu, Sakaski, known as the Hound of Hell, heads to the New World. Really? Have we been recruited into the fleet group by General Akainu? Knowles was very happy. Being recruited by the general to go on a sea mission means you can be promoted. He must seize this opportunity and try his best to climb up. The disaster relief ended prematurely as a result. After distributing some supplies to the town, the warships obeyed the call and headed to the fleet group where Akainu was located. General Akainu, idiot, if you call me General Akainu, or Mr. Akainu, don't call me by the codename, you will die. Back on the ship, the soldiers were shocked by the news. Tyr was even a little afraid of being edited into Akainu's fleet group. If he gets killed by mistake, that's the end of it. Mission information: the red-haired pirates, who have risen rapidly in the New World in recent years, are heading to Elbafu to plan a secret plan. Our mission is to follow General Akainu and stop them. Knowles delivered a mission speech on the warship, and all the soldiers fell into a brief excitement. Akainu. Tyr was a little scared, but he could only pray that he was not as cold-blooded as he remembered. In the past few days of practice, Tyr also successfully mastered the sword blade condensed with sword energy as a weapon. The quality of the sword blade is determined by the amount of concentrated sword energy, and is prepared to prevent domineering strong men from touching their own bodies. If necessary, Tyr will resist with weapons and hand-to-hand combat. Chapter 8: The Privileges Possessed by Talents. Seagulls fly across the blue sky on top of a majestic fortress building. Is the news true? Is it really Logia? A shocked voice came from a room at the top of the building. A burly man covered in medals and wearing a seagull hat marveled at the new arrival. It was informed by the colonel of the 331st branch of the Grand Route, Warring States Fleet Admiral. Logia must not ignore. Which sea area is Colonel Knowles currently in? Sengoku said. Marine Fleet Admiral. The room where Sengoku was located was empty. A huge desk with a desk full of documents waiting for him to process. On the wall to the left of his desk is a plaque. Henki, Absolute Justice. I was forcibly summoned by General Akainu to go to the New World to perform a mission. Akainu. Red Hair. Sengoku muttered. Should we recall Knowles from General Akainu? No, since it's Akainu, let him follow him to practice. After all, he is a recruit who doesn't understand him yet. If you do this, Fleet Admiral, that's a red-haired man. His dominance is at its peak now. If I can't even bear the domineering power, there's no need for me to spend a lot of resources on him. How is it possible for Marine to once again focus its resources on cultivating a recruit who has just joined Marine? Yes, Fleet Admiral. Warring States said he didn't care, but in his heart he couldn't believe that he was only 14 years old. This is also what worries him, because he is too young. After understanding Teal's personal information, which didn't have many outstanding points, he continued to immerse himself in processing important intelligence documents. New World. Knowles' small warships merged with the large warship group on the same route. How come even warships are divided into classes? Of course, this is the warship group of Admiral Mr. Akainu. Don't play around here, it will really kill people, Knowles warned Tell. Oh, Tyr agreed with his mouth, but he didn't think so in his heart. Be serious, people can really die. Oh, it was not easy for me to get a salary and receive special treatment. How could he let this great opportunity pass? Akainu is a solemn presence in the Marines. No one dares to joke, entertain, or play in the fleet group he leads. Advertisement. Welcome to the route. In the past month and a half, I have remembered the rumor that there is a genius on your ship. Is it true? The commander of the Akainu fleet group asked Knowles. That's the kid. Knowles pointed to Tyr, who was squatting on the side of the boat in Asia next to him, holding a barbecue. He was eating meat at the moment and looked a little wise but not too smart. Child. Akainu. Tell shouted out Sakaski's codename, making the people around him open their mouths in fright. The Admiral's fleet is really serious. It seems there is a lack of education. Tell looked at the officer with disdain and swallowed the barbecue in his hand. Haha, I'm sorry, he is a recruit and doesn't know the etiquette in the army. Knowles pushed Taylor with his hand and smiled awkwardly. Tyr looked at the other warships indifferently. Being able to dispatch such a majestic and huge fleet group is enough to show that Marine attaches great importance to and fears the red-haired Shanks, and it also dispatched one of the 3 most powerful generals of Marine. Late at night, Tell sneaked out of Knowles' warship alone and went to other giant warships to look for people he wanted to see with his own eyes. He jumped onto the mast and shuttled among the warships. Is it that one? Tyr locked onto a flag warship with a red magma dog head. Located in the center of all warships. Tell jumped to the top of the mast of the warship where Akainu was and squatted down. After searching for a while, I finally found the room where Akainu was. He was working on documents and such by the window of his office on the top of his ship. Akainu is wearing a red lace shirt. You can still vaguely see the cherry blossom-like tattoo on the chest. As for his appearance, in Tyr's eyes, he looked like a gangster boss, which was a bit scary. Huh? Akainu, who was processing the documents for this mission, suddenly turned his head and looked at the top of the mast outside the window. Found that Tyr was squatting on it and watching him quietly. Buru-Bulu, in his office, a phone bug that looked like Warring States rang. Why is Fleet Admiral calling at this time? Akainu picked up the phone and answered the call. His gaze remained on Tyr without shifting. Fleet Admiral, any new instructions? Akainu, I've sent you the latest rumored talent recruit in the military. Ah? Akainu was confused. Who on earth deserves so much attention from the Warring States period? And he even called him personally to remind him? The photo was quickly uploaded via the machine on his desk. When he saw the photo, he found that he looked exactly like Tyr on the mast just now. Logia Devil Fruit User. That's a lie, right? I don't know the truth, Akainu. I need you to confirm it yourself. Sengoku said and hung up the phone. Advertisement. At this moment, Tyr had the courage to jump to his window and stand. I have always heard rumors that you are a cold-blooded and ruthless general. Part of the call was overheard by Teal. He didn't expect that he would be targeted by Marine senior management. Don't you understand my fleet order? I understand, my ears can hear the calluses, but I am a curious person. Tell said to Sakaski, and suddenly found that he was holding a photo of his information in his hand. He immediately said to Akainu out of curiosity, Mr. General, that is my handsome photo in your hand. Akainu stared at Tell like a paralyzed person. He suspected that Tell was an undercover agent. Seeing Tyr's silly look, with his mouth full of barbecue fat, he immediately gave up the idea that Tyr was an undercover agent. He angrily said, "You violated my military regulations and dared to come to my place. It would be too stupid to treat you as an undercover agent. It's so boring. I want to come out and enjoy the sea breeze." There were no entertainment activities, no one dared to speak loudly, no one even dared to have banquets such as drinking and eating. The entire fleet group gave Tyr the impression of an iron-blooded fleet, with everyone firmly sticking to their posts. This made Teal completely unable to adapt and felt like a robot. After Akainu looked at Tyr, he found that he looked like a child with no experience. "What kind of Logia are you?" Akainu asked. "Sword chi." Boom. Sword energy surged out from Tyr's palm and condensed into a weapon that he held in his hand. "Sword chi? Can you turn it into this ball of gas on your hand?" "Yes, I can also control, split, condense, release, etc." After seeing Tyr's abilities, Akainu quickly punched him. A punch punched through Tyr's body, and he was surprised to find that his wrist was being cut by thousands of tiny sword energies. This made Tyr feel chilly all over, and he quickly moved away from the window. "You really plan to kill me?" Tyr said in shock. "If the information is deceptive, if you were killed by that punch just now, it will be the result of your disobedience to military orders. Go back and make sure you don't do it again." Akainu returned to the office, and the magma marks on his wrist healed quickly. "Another Logia talent?" Akainu said, as if reminiscing. "Before you can compete with his strength, it's better to obey the order first." After speaking, Tyr returned to his warship. It's impossible to make him perform tasks completely like a robot. The warship group moved directly towards the location of the red-haired pirates at full speed until it approached the waters near Elbaf. Early in the morning, the chef on the warship shouted angrily, "Where are the barbecues I carefully prepared for the soldiers?" The chef was furious. During the following sailing time, food mysteriously disappeared one after another on the warship. Chapter 9 Restraint, Overlord Divine Edge. A few days later, the warship group will arrive in the waters of Elbaf. Early morning cooking time, inside the warship mess hall. The cook on the warship where Tyr was on roared, "Damn it, Ham, Ham. What's wrong?" The cook had just stewed something for himself, and before he could wipe his mouth, the head chef called him over. Calling all the handymen together, "Someone is stealing food without permission." When Taylor heard the noise, he quickly finished off the barbecue in his hand, adjusted the sauce on his fingers, wiped his mouth and went to gather. The head chef looked at 17 people standing in a row, holding a big iron spoon and glaring at everyone. "There is always a shortage of food in the freezer these days," the head chef said angrily in front of everyone. "Someone among you must be eating public food secretly, and he has a big appetite." He directly ignored the short Taylor. Just when Tyr heard such things, he choked up and felt a little guilty and uneasy. But he still didn't admit it proactively. "No, we have been working hard. Qualified soldiers will not steal food. Only us handymen and soldiers would do such a thing." He stopped in front of Ham and looked at the corners of his greasy mouth with serious doubts. "Chef, don't look at me like that, I don't have one," Ham explained. "He is a fat employee with a huge appetite. Why is it that so early in the morning, when others don't have greasy mouths, you're the only one? Food loss is serious." The chief chef had to personally borrow food from other warship officers to feed the 200 people. I made breakfast myself. How could you eat so much for breakfast? You hateful guy, you made me lose face and go to other comrades to borrow food to satisfy my hunger." No one knew it was Teal who did it. He is now in the growth stage, and his stomach is always growling from hunger in the middle of the night. "It's impossible not to eat. After eating, I couldn't get enough of my usual standard meal. All are limited." "Well, if there's nothing else for me to do, I'll leave first," Taylor said. "Well, it's definitely not you, Tyr." The confirmation came from the head chef, and no one dared to think it was him. Coupled with Tyr's previous performance, no one dared to say anything to him. The scolding in the cafeteria didn't stop until the morning, and the fat man named Ham was scolded bloody. The blame was piled on his back. Taylor watched everything happening inside in the corridor, took out a piece of bread from his pocket and stuffed it into his mouth. The greater the ability, the smaller the responsibility. Ha ha ha. He left the cafeteria with a smile, as if these words were sarcasm. When Taylor returned to the deck, he felt the restlessness in the air. It was getting light. Compared to other soldiers, Tyr is relatively free. Because he ignored Akainu's military order warning a few days ago and still went his own way in various warship galleys. "It's so strange, why do you get goosebumps all over your body?" The chill in the air made him uneasy. Tell climbed up the side of the ship and sat cross-legged on it, watching the large number of soldiers on other warships preparing for battle. Advertisement. After the meal, Knowles also began to command the soldiers to prepare for battle. No one dared to be careless when facing the red-haired pirates. Even Akainu personally supervised them early in the morning. "We are late, General Akainu. The red-haired pirates have already set sail from Elbafu. Is their plan to win over those giants?" "It seems so. Although they don't know what happened, they seem to have learned about our marine. The sky was completely bright, and a drizzle began to fall from the gray sky. Looking at the officer talking to Akainu in the distance, Taylor became curious. What on earth are they talking about? When will that mysterious red-haired pirate group appear again? Akainu directly ordered the fleet to approach the Elbaf Island. A huge tree rushing into the clouds appeared in Tyr's eyes, which shocked him extremely. Everything in this world was beyond his knowledge, and he was deeply shocked by such huge plants. The shadow of a ship appears in front of the fleet. It's the Red Foss, the main ship of the red-haired pirates. Everyone, get ready for battle. We can't let them run away this time. Akainu's expression became extremely serious and cold after giving the order. Tyr stood up and stared into the distance, with a smile on his face that couldn't help but the anticipation in his heart. Finally getting to see me in person? That man? Tell said. On the Red Foss, Red Hair stood on the bow of the ship and looked at the marine fleet group in the distance. Akainu. That's really tricky. Wow, my friend, your suggestion is great. We will help you leave Elbaf. Elbaf belongs to Marine's forbidden land, and they do not allow any forces related to the world government to come here. Once you step into the sea, then, two giants stand on the coast of Elbaf, facing the marine fleet on the sea. For hundreds of years, no marine has been able to reach our island. Kill them? Good. The giant sword in the giant's hand began to accumulate power, and it exuded a very terrifying aura. For friends, the tide veins gathered terrifying strength on their arms, and the two of them suddenly swung a move that shocked the sea. Hegemony. The two giants swung their charged sword energy at the same time. The terrifying sword energy shockwave split the sea and covered the entire marine warship group. Find a way quickly, otherwise we will be destroyed. So big. No, the giant's attack range is too wide. The despairing coercion swept through the hearts of every soldier. Only the soldiers who came here for the first time understood. Why is this place called a restricted area? The captain of the red-haired pirates suddenly frowned. What's the matter, Captain? What kind of future do you predict? No. This huge sword energy impact will be resolved by a marine brat. Advertisement Akainu stood in front of the main ship, facing such a terrifying attack and preparing to intercept it. The combo skills wielded by the two powerful giants suddenly exploded and spread out in the air. Ha 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 ha. Is that sword energy that you were wielding? That happens to be my home court? Tyr's voice echoed throughout the sea. Knowles and the more than 200 soldiers on board were so shocked that their jaws dropped to the deck. You. What did you do, Tyr? Knowles looked at the moment when Tyr stretched out his hand to attack the giant in front. The huge sword energy exploded and spread out, turning into flying swords hanging in the sky over the sea. What's going on? Akainu was also shocked. He watched the aura all over the sky condense into sword aura, and immediately looked back at Tyr, who was laughing. It's him. No matter how powerful the sword energy is, it can't hurt me, Tail laughed loudly. Such terrifying power made the two giants use all their strength, but in the end they turned into sharp weapons controlled by Tyr. Drink. Tyr put his left hand in the shape of a sword on his chest, activating the fruit's ability to suddenly accumulate energy. Countless sword blades hung in the sky amid raindrops, obeying his orders. Hey, what are you going to do? Teal, Knowles asked, seeing Tyr's excited face. Isn't the mission to stop the red-haired pirates? Since we have seen them, we must fight, right? Tail said with a smile. Are you going to be the first to attack them? Knowles was secretly happy. This means he will be promoted soon, because Tyr is currently a soldier under his command, and the credit will eventually go to him. Hey. I want to know how big the gap is. After saying this, Tyr prepared to control thousands of swords over the Red Foss. Be prepared to control the moment the sword falls. This is not good. That guy is a capable person, boss. A fat man holding a barbecue said to the red hair. What kind of ability is this? If these swords are really allowed to fall, the hull will not be able to withstand it. A great guy appears in marine. The red-haired man's eyes were extremely sharp, and he stepped forward to lock Tyr remotely. Boom. A scarlet aura bloomed violently, and a red lightning struck Tyr's body from the dark clouds. It hurts. What is this? Tyr was paralyzed, looking up to the sky and screaming in pain. Domineering. At this moment, he only had these two words in his mind, and Logia's body was instantly paralyzed. Red thunder crackled and sizzled around his body. The redhead took action against him. This caused him extreme pain all over his body, as if his body was out of control and he had lost control of his sword energy. Red hair. Akainu saw the red hair and immediately started bombarding their red foss with lava or long-range attacks. The battle started in an instant. Countless cannons bombarded the red-haired pirates, but they easily intercepted them using various methods. What a terrifying ability, kid. It can only limit you, the red hair said. It has the power to predict the future, and has seen its own hull being sunk by countless swords. So immediately use Conquerors to stun Tyr. What he never expected was that Tyr turned out to be a natural fruit ability user, and the Conquerors who endured it didn't even faint. The excruciating pain spread all over Tyr's body, preventing him from releasing his elemental abilities. On the warship he was on, the soldiers had been stunned by the red-haired Conquerors. The colonel could only stand up reluctantly. Chapter 10 Conquerors' Resonance Awakening. A fierce battle in the waters of Elbaf is about to break out. Akainu, the spokesperson for absolute justice, went all out as soon as he came on the scene, without any hesitation in action. Magma fists like cannons were fired from his arms to bombard the red-haired pirates. This is Conquerors. Tyr's face was full of pain, and he never thought he would be shocked by someone's look. He also personally experienced the power of Devil Fruit Buster. This is how domineering the red hair is. I almost fainted. Knowles came to Tyr's side and almost fainted due to the red lightning around Tyr's body. Ah! Taylor stared at the warship group in the distance. His moves were destroyed by the fierce fighting momentum between Akainu and the red hair, and the flying swords hanging in the air were disappearing one by one. Teal, are you okay? Knowles asked, covering his groggy brain. As the red-haired Conqueror's target, how could Tyr be okay? Now he was in great pain and could not speak a word. My heart was full of unwillingness. Knowles wanted to touch Tyr and save him, but the Conquerors sizzling around him tortured his brain. Until the shaking body can no longer bear it. Ah! Damn it! Tyr's scream gradually turned into unwillingness. The move was condensed but did not attack the enemy, so he was restrained and killed instantly by the enemy's glare. How could he, as a time traveler, be willing to do such a thing? Emotions surged inside him. Tyr began to struggle with all his might. An unknown force began to burst out from his body. Tyr, who endured the pain and looked ferocious, heard a boom of air explosions around his body that resounded across the sea, and the unconscious soldiers beside him were instantly blown away. A huge hole burst open in the upper deck of Knowler's warship. Shank's Conquerors resonated with the power hidden in Tyr's body, allowing him to break free from the shackles of the red-haired Conquerors. What is this? Tyr broke free and looked at the red aura around his body. Conquerors. Tyr understood what this power meant, and he was already happy. He glanced around and found that all the soldiers had fainted. The soldiers on other warships who were aiming and shooting with guns also stopped attacking and all looked towards Tell. Advertisement, what happened? Everyone looked at Taylor in shock. It seems you Marine have found a kid with great potential, Akainu. The red hair slashed into the air with his sword, and the sword energy tore through the front of the ship. Akainu's magma move bombarded him. Conquerors can actually be awakened. Akainu stopped attacking and looked at Tyr. At this moment, Tyr already understood that the god of time travel had not abandoned him. Ha ha ha. He burst out laughing as soon as he broke free from Conqueror's painful shackles. You won't be discouraged or mentally exhausted at all. You are really a monster. Marine actually has Conquerors, maybe. This is not a good thing. I mean, he is not loyal to Marine. Conquerors, such power became a monster in the eyes of soldiers, but it was a bad symbol in the eyes of some officers. Come on. Tyr read the anime Sky Sword Chi Flying Sword. The flying swords that had not dissipated above the red-haired pirates all obeyed Tyr's call and began to fall rapidly. Protect the main ship. Whether it was the cannonballs fired by the Marines or the flying swords flying in the sky attacking the red-haired pirate group's main ship, with the cooperation of their strength, they could not cause any damage. Tyr's countless sword energy was all broken up in the air by the red-haired man. This move deeply shocked Teal. Guns, cannons, etc. can be defeated with just one sword in front of a strong sword-wielding man. 4 knives have neutralized all my attacks. This is really, Taylor said in disbelief, that's great. The power that was impossible to exist in his original world made every cell in his body excited. Taylor laughed and walked through the warship, rushing to the front of the fleet group to look directly at the captain of the red-haired pirates at close range. Those sharp and domineering eyes did not scare Taylor. Ha ha ha. That's great, Taylor laughed and stared at him, but was ignored by the red-haired man himself. Over the past few years, your actions have always been unexpected, red hair, Akainu said to the red hair. Why would the giant of Elbaf help you? If we really want to start a war, have you thought about the consequences of the soldiers behind you, Akainu? The red-haired man said seriously, I'm afraid only guys like you will come regardless of the risks. Marine was still a step late. The red-haired man had already reached some kind of agreement with King Elbaf, Loki. Under the red-haired personal charm, the giants became allies with him. Advertisement. There is also a loophole in saying that Elbaf is Marine's forbidden area. Because, Marine intelligence personnel have often purchased giant soldiers here to serve as Marine combat forces for hundreds of years. Risk. How could Akainu not know the risks? After learning that the red-haired group had established a relationship in Elbaf, he already understood that this mission was in vain. He simply cannot accept such a result if he spends such a huge military expenditure just to take a look. Justice eliminates evil. Isn't this a matter of course? If the soldiers did not make sacrifices, this sea would probably be a world where pirates can do whatever they want. Seeing that Akainu was so determined, Ben Beckman on the red-haired ship made suggestions and did not plan to have a full-scale head-on conflict with Akainu. Our goal has been achieved, Captain, it's time to retreat. That's right, it's not a wise choice to go all out to fight with this guy Akainu. The red-haired man was also a little worried. Gaining Elbaf as a powerful ally has fulfilled the purpose of his trip. There is absolutely no need to confront Marine head-on. Then let's retreat with all our strength, ha 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 ha. Meteor volcano. Whoosh! Seeing that the red-haired pirates gradually turned around, Akainu immediately used the meteor volcano move to continuously bombard them. Every magma fist was intercepted by me with a knife before it touched the red-haired ship. Drink. A laser cannon shot out of the mouth of a crew member on the red-haired pirate ship. Crossing the sea, a warship was immediately destroyed. It's useless, don't waste your energy, Akainu. Your moves can't have a substantial effect in front of me. After the red hair finished speaking, he held the knife and wrapped it with terrifying red domineering energy. What on earth did you do in Elbaf? You will understand in the future. After saying that, the red hair swung his knife. The Crimson Overlord Divine Blade bloomed, and a sharp air-striking strike cut through the void from the stern of the red foss and shattered the sky. Have you inherited that man's power with this domineering power? Akainu did not dare to be careless when he saw this. Facing the surging Conquerors slash, he used all his strength to combine the rockberry fruit and the armed color hockey, blasting out a huge magma fist comparable to the size of a warship. During the fierce collision between the two attacks, a shocking giant sword appeared in the clouds above the red Voss. Tyr challenged the red-haired man, it's hard to see me in person, don't let it end so soon. A full blow from Tyr's current strength, he eagerly wanted to know how big the gap was between himself and the strong man except for his domineering power. Chapter 11 I Won't Lose Again. The Marine Brat Who Just Awakened Conquerors. The red-haired man fixed his eyes on Tyr. It was discovered that the giant sword on the clouds had been following the red Foss. Cutting through the clouds has been following them, as if conscious. A terrifying heatwave came from the warship not far from Tyr, and the lava residue overflowing from Akainu was everywhere in the wind. The moves of the two were resolved by each other. He also experienced the terrifying power of the red-haired Conqueror's slash, but it was not strong enough for him to fight against. Goodbye. Shanks. On Elbaf Island, many giants waved goodbye to them. There was no fear that they would be sunk by the Marines, and there were a large number of giants holding weapons to prevent the Marines from entering Elbaf. Tyr concentrated all his strength on the fruit, and looked at his moves on the clouds and thought of a name on the spur of the moment. Sword sinks into the sea. Go. He aimed his palm at the red Foss and pulled it down through the air. Boom. Thunder rumbled on the clouds, and the giant sword trembled and charged up before falling from the clouds in an instant. The moment the red Voss was about to be sunk, Shanks held the griffin and blasted it into the sky. The powerful sword power and domineering force instantly tore the giant sword into pieces. It turned into nothingness and white breath scattered in the air. Even a new member of Marine must know how to respect others and don't be too arrogant to provoke me, the red-haired man warned as he put away his knife. There are still traces of red lightning left on the hilt of the knife at his waist. It's so strong that it's unreasonable. Tyr was shocked in his heart. He couldn't believe that his full-strength attack was easily resolved. Belief in becoming stronger. After Tyr saw the power of a truly strong person, he became more determined to become stronger. Still unwilling, Tail condensed the sword energy in his body into his right hand, forming a strong hilt in his hand. I don't want to give up this rare opportunity to fight against the strong. No, General Akainu, this area is about to turn into stormy weather. We'd better leave this sea area as soon as possible. Magma fell from Akainu's body into the hull. He gritted his teeth and stared at the fleeing red-haired group with hatred. Purchase with all your strength. No evil can be spared, Akainu ordered. Okay, as ordered. But at this moment, he saw Tyr, who turned into white light of sword energy, swooping out of the air. What are you going to do, recruit? That's not an enemy you can fight. I want to fight him. Advertisement as a Logia. Akainu doesn't know how to abandon the advantages of the Logia fruit without authorization to fight against strong men in physical skills and swordsmanship. That would be a very stupid decision. The time traveler Tyr had no knowledge of such things. He just acted according to his thoughts and did what he wanted to do. You have great courage, young Marine. The red-haired man looked seriously at Tyr, who was about to arrive at the stern of the red Voss, and pulled out the griffin again. Teach the young man a lesson, Captain, ha ha ha. He's such a newbie in Marine who doesn't know what the world is up to. Tyr, who was approaching Shanks himself, grinned and swung his sword at him with all his strength. The corner of Shanks' mouth rose, and this time he only used the weapon color that could touch Logia to wrap around Griffin. Putting the knife in front of him, he easily blocked Tyr's slash. No matter how hard he exerted his strength at this moment, Tyr found that his wrist could not shake the man with red hair and broken arms in front of him. Is this the gap? Tyr was shocked by his power. Sink into the sea. Young man. Shanks lifted up with one hand and lifted tail easily into the air. The shocked Tyr found it hard to believe that he was almost the same height but not in the same dimension at all. Then he jumped into the air and appeared above the trajectory of Tyr's flight. The moment Tyr noticed it immediately, he turned around and found that Griffin had appeared in front of him. Tyr immediately condensed his sword energy into a physical blade to resist, but he could not stop the unshakable power. The red-haired sword knocked Tyr from the air into the sea. Like a cannonball flying at full speed, it splashes high water on the sea surface. A commendable young sailor, but too weak. Even Shanks didn't expect that Tyr would dare to conflict with him head-on. Too young. Tyr's body, which sank into the sea, could not use any strength at all. He was cursed by the sea due to his devil fruit ability. He could only let the deep sea pull him to the bottom of the sea. Such is the power of 4 emperors, defeat with one move. Tyr stared at the magma blooming like a red lotus on the sea surface, and the large amount of blood on his chest slowly sinking to the bottom of the sea. On the sea, a full-scale conflict broke out between the fleet led by Akainu and the red-haired pirates. Not letting the evil escape, he also witnessed Shanks' swordsmanship and domineering power. Marine suffered heavy losses in this battle. Conquerors destroyed the bodies of every righteous soldier, leaving them powerless to fight on the sea shrouded in scarlet aura. An unknown amount of time passed in the dark depths of the sea. The moment Taylor was picked up, he fell into a coma. When he woke up and sat up suddenly from the bed, he looked at the strange and familiar scenes around him. Advertisement. Where's the red-haired Shanks? He looked out the window and found that the dark stormy weather had become sunny, and he was arranged alone in a cabin bedroom. After putting on his shoes, Tell immediately ran outside and came to the deck to find that this was no longer the warship that Tell was on before. Knowles or other familiar soldiers could be seen, they were all strangers. Hey, how long have I been unconscious? He asked the soldier on guard. Today is noon on the 3rd day, 3 days. Tyr lowered his head and found that his body was wrapped in medical bandages, and a pain spread from his body to his brain. What's this? The feeling of being sunken into the flesh and bones of his chest made Tyr immediately remove the bandage on his chest and take a look. This sight caused a chill to fill Tyr's body. A slash deep into the flesh unfolded on his chest, and the hot stinging sensation made his breathing quicken. What's going on? As he spoke, the last scene of falling into the sea appeared in Tyr's mind, Shanks slash. The injury went deep into the bone marrow and was indelible, leaving a permanent scar along the left side of Tell's sternum to the right side of his waist. Your recklessness almost cost you your life, recruit. Akainu's voice came from the room at the top of the warship. Tyr, with a look of horror on his face, reluctantly jumped up to ask what happened. Standing at a high place, he found that the majestic fleet group had turned into a group of scrap ships that could barely sail. Even Akainu was covered in bandages. He was using scissors to clean the branches of a small tree, and a small sword tattoo on his right arm appeared in Tyr's eyes. Akainu looked at the injury on Tyr's chest and said, "It's not as if you're dead. The mountains of white bones can all be seen with the naked eye." It was only at this moment that Tyr realized that the battle between the pirates and marines was not just a game, it was a battle that could be life-threatening at any time. However, you were quite courageous as a recruit. Akainu seriously doubted that Teal was ignorant and fearless. The reason why he didn't understand how powerful the red-haired man was that he dared to rush forward and confront him head-on. Tyr was frightened for a while before he came back to his senses from the fear of death. I will not lose again. This is the only time, it is also the last time. He deeply touched the reality of this world. Failure is almost equal to death. If Marine hadn't helped to salvage him, he would have been killed by the red hair. Hatred was buried at this moment, and the desire to serve Marine loyally in return for saving his life also emerged at this moment. He felt relieved when he learned that Colonel Knowles had returned to the 331st branch of the Grand Line alone. Tyr, who dared to go up to the hard steel despite the name of a powerful pirate, was summoned by Marine executives. The warship is sailing towards Malinfondo. Chapter 12. Is it the Phantom Beast Logia? After passing through the Gate of Justice and passing through the waters of Marinefondo, Tyr was brought into the Marine headquarters harbor. It was not as serious as Tyr's heart, but a place where all kinds of colorful soldiers gathered. It can't even be said to be sacred. Call it solemn. Some soldiers were having a little brawl in the square. But everyone here is full of justice and awe-inspiring righteousness. Except for Akainu's main ship, all other warships returned to their G-base for maintenance. It was only about 2 months after first joined Marine that I came to the Marine headquarters from the Grand Line. Teal even felt that this development exceeded his expectations. Am I going to be promoted? Teal asked Akainu. Follow me. Oh. He followed Akainu to the inner base square, and the place he passed was full of soldiers training. Is this where the war happened on the top? Tyr said to himself. What did you say? No. Nothing. Where are we going, Mr. General? Fleet Admiral House. Now it's time to meet Fleet Admiral. Taylor was a little surprised. Now he is just a special recruit of Branch 331. How can he have such a big honor to meet the Warring States himself? There were almost no familiar faces along the way, but there were a few giant lieutenant generals who made Tyr wary. It may be the shadow of the previous naval battle, and I am deeply afraid that they will sneak up and become a hegemon, without being able to guard against it. Log in to the top of the headquarters building. In the corridor outside the room where Sengoku was, Akainu walked straight in, smoking a cigar. You're here, Akainu. Where are you? There is no doubt that Sengoku inside is processing official documents. Come in quickly. Don't waste time, boy, Akainu shouted at Tyr. But they only saw him holding the sliding door open and sticking his head out to look inside. I found an old man eating senbei on the sofa next to his desk, and Sengoku with an afro headdress working on documents. This is Garp, Sengoku. Tyr was a little shocked. These people all have the same characteristics, that is, everyone's upper body is very majestic, but their lower body looks very slim. The pirates in the East China Sea are getting more and more arrogant. I will go back to visit the Warring States period soon. You are not allowed to go home for leave at this time, Garp. Why? The news about the head-on conflict between the red-haired man and our marine general in Elbaf has been learned by that B********** D. Morgans. Who knows what news he will make up that will shock the new world. Tyr walked in cautiously, but when he saw that Akainu did not give a military salute, he did not follow suit. Huh? Garp, who was eating senbei, glanced at Tyr and asked, is this the kid? Advertisement. I brought it to you, Fleet Admiral. I'm going to recover from my injuries, Akainu said. Even you didn't get any favors from him. His dominance is already close to that man's. Roger. Ha ha ha. Garp picked up a piece of senbei and laughed. That's right, Hero Garp. Thank you for your hard work, Akainu. Akainu finished telling Tyr what happened, turned around, glanced at Tyr, and left. Oh, don't leave, I'm not even familiar with them. Akainu, who always maintains a paralyzed face, is like a gangster and doesn't care about tell at all. His mission was accomplished. There were only 3 people left in the room, Tyr, Garp, and Sengoku, and Tyr was a little out of breath under the pressure of their powerful aura. The 2 of them released the pressure on Taylor in terms of momentum. This made Taylor alert. Garp suddenly laughed and said, ha ha ha, I'm laughing so hard, is it him? Is Conquerors real? Is Logia real? Show me, kid. Shut up, Garp. Sengoku scolded Garp, a little annoyed when he saw Garp acting like this. It's true, Lieutenant General Garp, Warring States Fleet Admiral, Taylor said confidently. He is definitely not stupid. The crimson aura of the scarlet explosion is definitely Conquerors, which came out of his own body. Can you show me your abilities with my own eyes? That Logia. Sengoku continued to tell Tyr. They are all in front of Fleet Admiral, so of course Taylor has to perform well. It would be even better if I could get promoted or something like that. He immediately activated the power in his body to drain out, and the white transparent sword energy formed several flying swords floating around his waist. Is this Logia? I don't know. Attacks passing through my body will not cause any harm, but you can't touch my physical body without domineering power. Tyr introduced to Warring States. If you put it this way, it is indeed the Logia Devil Fruit ability. Only Hockey can capture their entities. Warring States put down the quill in his hand, began to touch his whip mustache and began to think. Sword energy is usually cut out from the blade by a powerful swordsman, but does such a thing as sword energy exist in nature? Or is sword energy natural? He took out the Devil Fruit illustrated book recorded by Vegapunk and looked through it, but found nothing related to Logia in it. Sword energy doesn't belong to nature, so why do you call it Logia? Tyr was confused. Then I don't know what it is. The first time it was condensed, it was the shape of a sword. I tried other weapons but couldn't condense them at all. In addition to condensing the sword energy into a sword, Tyr cannot condense it into other forms at all. Phantom beast species. Garp said casually. It does sound a bit like what you said, Garp. Sengoku continued to flip through the fantasy beast species reading pages. The so-called sword energy fruit was not found at all. During this period, Garp had already stood up and walked to Tyr. Pushed his body with strong force. Advertisement. It was discovered that Tyr could indeed avoid damage without domineering power just like Logia. Yeah. Garp said with some confusion. Could it be the phantom beast species Logia Chi fruit sword Chi form, Warring States period? It's a good name, I like it, Taylor said. Garp looked at his palm in surprise. You will be attacked if I touch you? Yes, it's a self-protection mechanism. Sure enough, compared to the normal Sengoku, Garp is indeed a guy with a little mental problem, but what is this terrifying aura about him? How could there be such a fruit? I have never heard of the phantom beast Logia. There are so many places in the world that are unexplored, who knows if there will be any, ha ha ha. Garp said with a serious smile. After studying Tyr for a long time, Sengoku also surprisingly discovered that he not only has the elemental ability of Logia, but also the power of combining other fruits. For example, using sword energy to control objects through the air. How long have you been eating it? 4 years ago, I accidentally ate it in the jungle of Dex village. I was too hungry at the time. As he said this, Tyr walked to the guest table at some point. Quietly, he reached out and took a piece of senbei from the bag in Garp's hand. That's my. Garp's face darkened, and he looked at Tyr with some anger. But she found that he still didn't stop, and continued to watch Sang Guo reach into his pocket. That belongs to me. How many years have you been developing it? For 4 years, I have been slowly exploring. Tyr responded to the Warring States period while eating senbei crunchily in his mouth. Okay, I will arrange for you to receive professional training at the headquarters and go on missions with the officers. That's my senbei. B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************e Garp immediately broke his defense and became furious. A punch to Taylor's head caused him to lie completely on the ground in agony. There is no justice. There is no justice. What happened if I ate some senbei? Because the old injury had not yet healed, Tyr couldn't bear his light punch. Garp looked at Tyr lying motionless on the ground in confusion. Why are you so unbeatable? The moment Sengoku saw Tyr lose his mobility, he immediately stood up and taught Garp a lesson. He has a fatal wound from the red-haired slash. Are you a fool? How did I know? Boom. Garp, who was scolded by Sengoku, had no dignity as a marine hero. A little unconvinced, Tyr continued to reach for the senbei bag on the table, snatched it away and stuffed it all into his mouth. Watch me eat it clean for you, brat. Garp wanted to rush forward to stop him, but found that Tyr had already eaten a large bag of senbei into his mouth. Garp, go to Morgan's and ask him not to make random announcements. Leave this recruit to me to train. You have to train yourself, can't you? You have educated an Aokiji, can't I accept another disciple? The Marine Fleet Admiral personally decided to train Tyr. After summing up, no one can figure out Tyr's ability. The Warring States period can only count it among the phantom beast species and chi fruits. Chapter 13. Naturally dumb. Dasky. After Garp left, Fleet Admiral's mansion was empty. After recovering, Tyr held his head and felt a little angry. Karina was the one who beat me like this last time, you damn old man, Tyr complained. Garp looks like that, are you okay? Warring States suddenly felt that Tyr was a little cute. Does this cute side dare to go head to head with the red hair? The report said that he almost died. Sengoku knelt down and pulled Tyr up. Is Karina your grandmother? Warring States suddenly asked. All the identity information about Tyr is a mystery, and the only record is that of the grandson of the native Karina. Grandma, has Marine ever investigated my origin? Can they investigate it? Obviously, the CP sent out did not investigate anything. Yes, but, Taylor paused, she has passed away. Do you have any relatives? Warring States also wanted to confirm Tyr's life experience. People who own Conquerors almost never join Marine, but he and Garp are exceptions. Haha, no, so there is nothing that can hurt me anymore, Tyr said with a smile. The only relative he had died of natural causes due to old age. Another orphan abandoned by the sea. From now on, you will follow me, and I will help you guide the process of ability development. I want to learn physical skills, and I also want to learn swordsmanship, Taylor said, touching the scar on his chest. Although his ability is extremely powerful, without strong physical skills and swordsmanship, he is likely to be defeated again. How about the Marine 6 style? But it's very difficult to learn. It usually takes recruits several years to master it. Sang Guo walked behind his desk and took out a 6 style tutorial for Tai Tai. Okay. I want to learn it. No matter how much time it takes, I will master it. Taylor stared at the teaching textbook in his hand in anticipation. What about swordsmanship? As for swordsmanship, Sengoku thought. Akainu has completely given up on swordsmanship, so choosing him as Tyr's teacher is not an option. It's too early for you to contact the Lieutenant General so early. Warring States said and suddenly thought of someone, and when he returned to his chair, he thought of someone. He dialed the bug. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, what are your instructions? Call me Training Ground Number 2, and a petty officer 3rd class named Dasky will come over. Learn. Dasky Tall heard a familiar name again. He thought to himself, it was impossible to let this guy teach him swordsmanship, right? Is it a woman? Haha, you are a very sharp boy. You are a swordsman girl in her youth. She is only 3 years older than you. Tyr was thinking that it was 1516 in the Hyuan calendar, which meant that Dasky seemed to be really only 17 years old now. I'm hungry, Fleet Admiral, Tyr said, holding his stomach. Ask someone to arrange for food to come over again. Thank you for your hard work. Warring States said to the phone bug again. Advertisement, I understand, Fleet Admiral, we'll arrange it. After arranging it for Teal, he continued to return to the desk to handle the intelligence documents on the desk. As soon as the food arrived, Taylor started devouring it. Until a blue-haired girl came in from outside the house with a knife and a very nervous expression. The moment she stepped into the door, she tripped over the threshold and fell to the ground. I'm extremely sorry, Sengoku Fleet Admiral. She was so nervous that she immediately apologized, and stood up quickly without realizing that her glasses fell at Taylor's feet. Dasa-chi, I will arrange a long-term errand for you. Glasses. Wait a minute, Fleet Admiral, my glasses. Warring States covered his face and sighed, why are the recruits so dull in recent years? Taylor picked up the glasses on the ground and came to her, here you go. Dasky, who was lying on the ground looking for glasses, looked at Tyr, thank you. She was a little surprised. How could there be a childish person wearing a soldier uniform in Fleet Admiral's office? Fleet Admiral, what do you want from me? I heard that you have practiced swordsmanship well recently. Please teach this child too. Ha ha ha. Her? Tyr suddenly laughed and said, teach me? Are you kidding? Ha ha ha. Feeling Tyr's ridicule, Dasky immediately became serious. Please stop laughing at me. Although I am not good enough now, I will definitely be a world-famous swordsman in the future. Oh, yeah. The first impression she gave Tyr was that she was dumb, and then she became serious and upright. I feel very capable and able to endure hardships. Ahem. Fleet Admiral, please let me duel with this rude guy. No. Why? You can't beat him. The lieutenants are very busy, and Mr. Marine currently has very few strong swordsmen. The Warring States period had no choice but to find someone who was practicing swordsmanship to train Tyr, who could at least be good at swordsmanship. I don't believe it, Fleet Admiral, alas. You start in front of me. Tell, you are not allowed to use the fruit ability. Warring States agreed to Dasky's request. I rely on that fruit for my livelihood. If you don't let me use the fruit, how can I beat her? Although Tyr has practiced his physical skills vigorously, he has been practicing in leisure mode for 4 years, so he is not strong. He spends most of his time developing the fruit, so not letting him use it is tantamount to. He is a capable person? That's right, Dashichi Petty Officer 3rd Class. Dasky was a little shocked. Not a moment later, advertisement. Tyr and Dusky, who did not know any swordsmanship, faced off with wooden swords. Drink. She directly attacked Tyr. If he defeats her, I'm afraid the whole fate will be broken. Although Tail doesn't know how to use a sword, he has been practicing holding a sword for 4 full years, and he has experience of wielding a sword hundreds of thousands of times. Facing Dasky, who was rushing over, he had already seen the flaw. But he didn't defeat her. He swung his sword at her randomly but was blocked by the wooden sword in Dasky's hand, and then hit Tyr on the head. Ah, I lost. So strong. Although Tyr really wants to be a Sigma man, he still has the heart of an apprentice. Zhang Guo's mouth twitched, feeling a little speechless. In his sight, it was clear that Tyr would win. This guy. Huh, your sword swing is very messy. You can't be called a swordsman at all. You need more training. Dasky suddenly put on a master-like appearance and said to Tyr. Teach me. Teach me, Petty Officer 3rd Class. If you want to learn swordsmanship well, you must have the heart of an apprentice, otherwise you will not be able to become a swordsman. Suddenly she realized she was in the Fleet Admiral office and immediately became humbled. He, sorry, I got a little carried away. You should eat more nuts, Petty Officer 3rd Class. Tyr handed her a plate of nuts. Thank you. I didn't expect you to be quite nice. Dasky was completely confused by what Tyr said. Tyr wanted her to eat more nuts to replenish her brain. I always feel like she is supernatural and easy to deceive. Heh. Tyr laughed evilly. You can ask me about Tell in the future about fruit development. There will be many opportunities to learn swordsmanship and other things in the future. Got it, Fleet Admiral. May I ask who he is, Fleet Admiral, and why he appears in your office so casually? Dasky stood up straight and asked like a soldier. My apprentice. Ah, a few days later, Shank's victory over Akainu at Elbaf was famous all over the world, and Morgause directly called him the 4th Emperor of the Sea. When Garp arrived at the sea area where Morgause's hot air balloon ship was located, he had already sent the news to the world. The birth of the 4th Emperor also made the competition for New World territory more intense. In the year 1516 of the Hyuan calendar, the 4 emperors gathered in the New World and launched a fierce turf war. In order to fight against the 4 terrifying 4 emperors, the world government began to search for talents from all over the world to recruit 7 warlords of the sea to fight against the 4 emperors of the New World. Under the powerful power of the Warring States period, Tyr practiced hard and quickly grew into an extremely terrifying and powerful combat force. He was not promoted, but was secretly arranged by the Warring States period to be a combat soldier under all the lieutenant generals who went on missions, and experienced various bloody and tragic island wars and missions. Such days continued until he entered official history, which was the beginning of his legend in 1520. Chapter 14 Entering Official History, Roguetown. In the year 1520 of the Hyuan calendar, time has entered the official history of One Piece. There was a fierce collision of swords and swords in the town of Grand Route 331, Branch. Tyr is fighting a powerful pirate in the town with a black knife. He is now 18 years old, and the tenderness on his face has long been smoothed away by experience. You are just a nameless marine. Why are you so powerful? The one who fights Tyr is a pirate with a bounty of 400 million belly. Swift Knife Hand, Aladi. If you spend a long time in places like the New World and the Grand Line, you will gradually adapt to this harsh sea area. There are countless pirates in a place like the New World, with over 100 million pirates, and almost everyone has the domineering power of knowledge and power to hide in the place. My existence is. Tyr kept swinging his sword at the pirates and said in a deep voice, "Forget it, it doesn't matter which number." During the battle, he gradually discovered that this domineering pirate swordsman's physical strength was declining, and he aimed at the flaw and struck out with his sword from bottom to top. Phew! The blade in the pirate's hand shattered, and he fell down immediately after being hit in the chest by Tyr's sword. If you are not a person with abilities, Teal picked up the knife and walked to the place where he fell. If you dare to invade the place where I lived, there is no need to live. Wait. I have a sea of 200 million belly. Before he could finish his plea for mercy, the black knife in Tyr's hand had already pierced his brain. 200 million pirates. Tyr didn't even know how many he killed. I can't remember exactly. Draw out the black knife. Tyr took out Karina's diary and flipped through it to the last page. So that's what it means, that sentence. At this moment, he finally understood why Karina wrote in the diary she left behind. If time could come back again, I would not hesitate to choose to be a simple civilian instead of a Marine. Maybe it's okay to be an ordinary Marine, but it would be over if he was killed by the aftermath of a powerful battle while performing a mission. But in the past 4 years, Tell has seen mountains of corpses and seas of blood and the suffering of victims, and has experienced scenes of life and death every moment. At this moment, he was 198 centimeters tall, with disheveled hair, walking towards the thick tree that was the last to be hungry in the jungle. His handsome face leaned against a moss-covered tombstone and looked up at the sky. "I came to see you, Karina," Tyr said to the only person who could express his heart. "I recently found that my smile became less and less. I tried to go back to the past but found that after experiencing these miseries in the world, I can no longer smile. Can't go back either." At this moment, he finally understood that in this troubled world with constant wars, the price of becoming stronger is to gradually mature, lose your smile, and lose your original intention. Also, makes people become cold-blooded and terrifying. After a few minutes of mental involution, he fell asleep under the pleasant spring breeze of the jungle. No beast dared to get close to his body. Advertisement. Blue blue blue. The phone bug in his trouser pocket rang, directly connected to the phone bug of Sengoku himself. Taylor, who had just fallen into his own mood, was woken up and had no choice but to answer the phone call. "Where have you been?" "Tell." The phone bug imitated the words of the Warring States period and spit it on Tell's face. "What's going on branch 331 Island?" Taylor responded. Warring States was silent for a while, and then Tyr, who had just completed the task of flower-picking thief, slipped away alone again. He didn't know what task to assign to Tyr, because Teal has been on missions under almost every lieutenant general in the headquarters. If you think about it carefully, you have captured too many ability users in the past 4 years. It's time for you to take a long vacation, Tyr. Every scar on my body is at the mercy of your golden mouth, Fleet Admiral, Master. You've made it this far, right? Warring States' tone was filled with relief. The boy he spent a lot of resources and energy to train has become a strong man in his own right. His reputation in the world is also very famous, and all the strong men who have fought against him know him. Although partially defeated, he survived. 4 emperors are all in it. Taylor thought about it and it seemed to be the same thing. "If you really want to give me a holiday, then let me go to that supernatural and stupid woman, ha ha ha." "Dasachi?" Warring States asked. "That's right, she taught me my early stage of swordsmanship." Secondly, Teal witnessed the birth of the protagonist in this world. She has been in Roguetown, East Sea, for several years. Are you sure you want to see her? I can arrange a position for you in Roguetown. You have never assigned me a position, and I am still a soldier who is worse than seaman recruit, Taylor complained. Just this sentence made Warring States embarrassed, but Tyr's status as his apprentice is enough to influence many people. "What position do you think I should assign to your current strength?" It's up to you." "Well, no, the time is not yet ripe. You should go to the Roguetown branch first and become Petty Officer 3rd class. After spending time with these senior executives, Teal realized that most of them were guys with flawed personalities. Sengoku is a big tease in private, and has no airs of Fleet Admiral at all. He often uses his power to suppress Garp and embarrass him as a source of happiness. "Okay." Taylor agreed. "I feel a little nostalgic for the days when I often quarreled with Dasky." Advertisement. But Tyr and Dasky are just friends. Tyr made a friend in the past 4 years, but lost her forever in a battle with the red-haired pirates. "So I hate the red-haired pirates very much." The moment he discovered that the justice bias in Tyr's heart belonged to black and white justice, the Warring States period had been training him to become a general. The time has not yet come, although Tyr's strength has reached an extremely terrifying level. The black knife in his hand alone represents a symbol of his strength. However, Warring states felt that the time was not yet ripe. Then just hang up. Also, don't keep showing the black knife, Tyr. He hung up the phone directly, not wanting to listen to an old man in his 70s. Tyr also named his sword, Whale, based on the true appearance of the world he saw. Whale has no scabbard and is often carried on Tyr's shoulder. The total length of the blade is 1 meter 2, and with the scabbard, it is about 1 meter 3 or 4. It's a katana. All the blades in this world are basically katana swords, followed by western swords, naginata and the like. Most knives are called swords, and over time Tyr got used to it. The village of Dex has now become a town. Tyr buried Karina's life diary in the loess under her grave and left the jungle. Activate the fruit's ability to summon a flying sword, ride on it and leave. Roguetown, compared to other sea areas, the East China Sea is simply a paradise on Earth. Now, Tyr's only weakness is probably the possessor of powerful hockey, or falling into the sea. 2 days passed by in a blink of an eye, and Tyr crossed the upside-down mountain and arrived above Roguetown. It is crowded here, with a large number of vendors and shops, and a constant flow of people living peacefully in the sun. It seems that Smoker took over as the base director of Roguetown 2 years ago and managed the place really well. Tyr flew into the air to the marine base in Roguetown. Outside the window on the second floor of a marine building, he stared at a white-haired man smoking a cigarette in the window. Since it is Fleet Admiral's order, I have no choice but to obey it. Smoker, holding a phone, was talking to Sengoku. Thank you for your hard work, please take care of him. Smoker never thought that Tyr, a disciple of the Warring States period, would come to Roguetown to take up the post of Petty Officer 3rd Class. He hung up the phone and rushed, slamming the table with some surprise. That super genius monster is coming to my place to be a Petty Officer 3rd Class. Chapter 15, Sword God, Tyr. He didn't notice at all that Taylor was hanging outside the window and listening to everything with a smile on his face. Colonel Smoker. There are pirates landing at the western pier, what should we do? Huh? Pirates? Smoker noticed that the soldiers who had stopped suddenly were looking at the window, and he also looked out the window curiously. Yo, Taylor greeted him. You are, Sword God Tyr. I saw a red line in Taylor's eyes as he looked toward the western pier. There are pirates at the western pier, right? I'll handle it. The title of Sword God was bestowed upon him by soldiers within Marine. 24. How do you deal with being so far away? Immediately, he released a small stream of sword energy from his fingertips, forming 48 flying swords that broke through the air and rushed towards the western dock of Roguetown. Why did he come to the East China Sea in person? Hasn't he been active in the New World with the lieutenant generals? The soldier also knew Tyr. The moment he took action, everyone on the street, including Smoker, was shocked. Throughout the whole process, Tyr faced them with a sunny smile. Is that a sword? A stunt? That should be the case. There have been a lot of acrobatic performances in town recently. The fact that the flying sword was used as a performance was beyond Tyr's expectation. If New World were to let it go, everyone would think it was a move released by a strong person. No wonder the East China Sea is called the weakest sea. At the western pier of Roguetown, 24 pirates aggressively entered the town blocks with weapons. Led by the pirate captain. Residents of Roguetown, please be wise and hand over your supplies to honor me. In this huge town, every pier is patrolled by a marine unit. Their behavior immediately attracted Marines' attention, and they were surrounded by 12 patrolling Marines with guns. A group of pirates who don't know the heights of the sky, don't they know the reputation of Colonel Smoker in Roguetown? Poor Marine will only cry out for justice and sacrifice his life for others all day long. Kill Marine. Ahaha, yes, we are free pirates, free and lawless. The 24-member pirate group seems a bit too small in the coverage of Tyr's knowledge. No wonder it's the East China Sea. Only here can 24 people form a pirate group and do whatever they want. Within a few seconds of the fight between the two parties, 48 flying swords appeared on the block and cut into the pirate's body. What is this? A sword? Ah, these swords will attack us, Captain. The pirates fought against 2 swords and swords. Now every sword condensed by Tyr is as solid and real as a solid object. Under the flying sword controlled by Tyr, these pirates were all wiped out in less than a minute and were carried into the sky by the flying sword and returned to Tyr. They entered Smoker's house in a chain in the air. Advertisement. This is a welcome gift, Colonel Smoker. Those flying sword energy returned to Tyr's body, and he said with a smile, please accept it. In less than 2 minutes, we cleaned up these scum. I usually kill evil pirates directly, and of course I will let a small number of pirates go. Smoker stared at Tyr, and suddenly felt that Tyr in front of him was as terrifying as an unshakable mountain. How can Logia still play like this? Put these pirates in jail, he ordered the soldiers. Yes, please come in and talk. Tyr Petty Officer 3rd Class, you have been promoted to an official position with me. Tyr flew into the room feeling excited. After all these years, I finally got a promotion. Petty Officer 3rd Class may not be big, but it is much better than always having the title of miscellaneous soldier. It's an honor to hear your name and your training methods. Just by being in close contact, Smoker could feel the terrifying gap in strength. In this world where strength is paramount, there is no age gap at all. Even though Tyr had just grown up, he didn't dare to call him casually. Am I so famous? Ha ha ha. Tyr suddenly laughed. He has been performing tasks and training, and has no idea of his reputation in the world. I heard that your cultivation method is self-abuse? That's called desperate effort. His body is in the golden stage of growth between 14 and 18 years old. The moment he made up his mind to become stronger, Tyr was not idle. Tasks, training, and eating a lot have been Tyr's constant lifestyle for 4 years. It is only now that his strength has stabilized that he can relax. The degree of development of the sword chi fruit is also extremely terrifying. As long as Tyr is willing, the sky in the surrounding area will be covered by his sword energy, and the sunlight will not be able to penetrate through. But there was also a tragic experience that made him hate the red-haired pirates. Okay, I've heard rumors that most people can't train as hard as you do. He found Tyr rummaging through something in the drawers of his room. Feeling a little distressed, he suddenly said, "Colonel, your room is empty, why don't you have anything to eat?" "Who would put food in the office, idiot?" Smoker yelled. Just like the rumors, he is a guy who specializes in stealing food. It seems that the number of people guarding the food warehouse will be strengthened, Smoker thought. TCH, Colonel is so stingy. Tail complained and walked toward the cafeteria with the knife in his shoulder. The level of technology and architecture here is in the medieval era, and the gap between the level of civilization and development in the New World is really huge. Taylor was wearing a loose white shirt and black knee-length shorts. Marine's iconic seagull logo is engraved on the back of the shirt. There is nothing else. Faced with Tyr's words, Smoker was speechless. It's completely like facing a child who is acting like a child. Blatantly carrying a black knife on your shoulder. Is it to make people who know about this thing fearful? Advertisement: the blade of the whaling blade is pure black, and the blade is blood red from the tip to the tail. The conditions for training a black sword are very demanding, and whaling is a black sword that Tyr has refined through hundreds of battles. There are currently only 3 in the world. The first one is the black knife, Yi. The second one is the black sword, Shu Shui. The third one is the black knife, whaling. Stepping into the canteen of the Marine branch in Roguetown, Taylor attracted the attention of many people. "Hey, weapons are not allowed here. You are, wow." Tyr, who caused a sensation as soon as he entered the cafeteria, was surprised and didn't know what they were cheering for. Tell himself had no idea how famous his reputation was in the military. Soon the sound of him cooking reached the ears of others. It's not generally edible. As expected of a Marine supernova, he is so strong at eating. Damn it, I can't lose to him when it comes to eating. That's the black knife. The third black knife known to the world. Tyr, who was just immersed in eating, didn't understand why he made the soldiers so motivated without saying a word. After eating from noon until the afternoon, Tyr's mouth was full of oil and he patted his belly and cried out. The body has grown several times bigger. He raised his sword finger with his left hand and used one of the 6 moves. Return of life digestion. Tyr, who controls the organs throughout the body, quickly digests the food in the body, and the body gradually returns to its original size. Not only does he master the 6 styles, he is also a grandmaster in swordsmanship. The fruit ability is also highly developed. In order to become stronger, he made huge sacrifices, almost losing his playful temperament. I'm full, ha ha ha. Tyr also doesn't waste food. After being hungry, Tyr cherished every drop of food. The safety of civilians must come first. This cannot be changed, understand? Outside the cafeteria, a woman with blue hair and 4 eyes scolded the soldiers as they walked into the cafeteria. As soon as she entered, she saw Tyr slumped on the cafeteria seat, clutching his stomach. You. The two spoke to each other almost at the same time. Afterwards, Tyr and Dasky both put on extremely disgusted and contemptuous expressions. You supernatural and stupid woman, you're such a complaining brat. Does Dasky Petty Officer First Class know the sword god? Chapter 16. It's still too early for you in this field. The two of them were forehead to forehead, dissatisfied with each other and started to quarrel angrily in the cafeteria. Dasky suddenly looked shocked and discovered the black knife in Tyr's hand. Hey! She was so excited that she was trembling all over, and stretched out her palm towards the black knife on Tyr's shoulder. When Tell found out, he immediately waved his hand and raised the knife to his head. That's the black knife. Teal, show me this guy quickly. Haha, no. Dasky was only 170 centimeters tall and couldn't reach the black knife raised by Tyr. After all, I am considered your half-master of swordsmanship, but you don't even listen to your master's words. I won't give it to you, knife-crazy woman. Taylor held out his middle finger with a look of contempt on her face. Dasky was so angry that her brain was congested and her cheeks bulged like a doormat. HMPH, she folded her arms and turned her back to Tyr, becoming pretentious. It's just a black sword. I can also refine Xiaoya sugar cashew into a black sword in the future. Ah, Tyr sneered, it's just you. Dasky, who was furious, had reached the limit of her patience, turned around and punched Tyr on the head, causing a big bump. Ahem. Violent woman. What about his dignity as a sword god? Has Dasky Petty Officer First Class been hiding his strength? Said the soldier watching the show. Show me. Dasky snatched the black knife from Tyr, who was squatting on the ground, admiring it like a nymphomaniac. Ha ha ha. The third black knife in the world. Hee hee hee. She looked at the blade and her mouth was drooling. Knife crazy B asterisk 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 D. Tyr complained to her, covering his head. Why would such a knife fall on you? It's such a pity, damn it. As a knife fanatic, Dasky naturally knows something about black knives. Naturally, she also understood that this was something Tyr had honed in countless fights, but she just had some disdain for Tyr. Give me back. No, let me keep it for the time being. Dasky held Whale in his arms as a treasure, but by the way, why are you here, Tyr? Shouldn't you be performing missions in the New World? Don't you know? Tyr suddenly remembered that he told Smoker the news that he was coming during the Warring States period. It seems that things on the sea have been busy enough recently. Dasky immediately went to Smoker's office to inquire, and learned that Tyr was appointed as Petty Officer 3rd Class of the Marine Branch in Roguetown. Went to Smoker's office again, filled with cigar smoke. Ha, Colonel Smoker, did you make a mistake? No, Fleet Admiral called me personally. Hee hee hee. She suddenly smiled strangely at Tyr. Then you will be my subordinate from now on, and the black knife will be handed over for now. Advertisement, cut. Stupid woman. Tyr cursed. Black knife. Smoker looked at Tyr. Where did you practice it? It's been a year, I found out after the 4th conflict with the red hair. As he said that, Tyr's expression became a little sad. Red hair. Smoker and Dasky shuddered at the same time. Nowadays, this name is feared all over the world. I thought it was just a rumor, but I didn't expect it to be true. Smoker was shocked. Then how strong are you now? There are many rumors about Tyr, such as the incident where one person destroyed a pirate nation. Although it was finally taken over by the Warring States period, the news was not blocked. Well. Tyr looked at Smoker and thought for a few seconds, Colonel Smoker, it's still too early for you to get involved in this field at this time. Ahem. Smoker was a little unhappy, and his fist immediately turned into white smoke and rushed towards Tyr. A punch to Teal's face knocked him to the ground. Tyr fell to the floor and covered his face. What are you doing, Colonel Smoker? Damn it. It's nothing, I can't help myself. After Smoker easily knocked away Tyr, he began to doubt the authenticity of those rumors in the military. The arrest of the pirates by Black Knife and Phagian just now made him make a rational judgment, and Tyr deliberately kept it secret. Why did you get beaten up by your 2 bosses when you first came to the position of Petty Officer 3rd Class? I'm still very busy with military affairs, so I have to go to work. Dasky left naturally with Tyr's knife. Hey, my weapon. No, your weapon is very suspicious. It needs to be left for me to inspect for a while before it can be returned to you, Doss said to Tyr seriously. Knife fool. Forget it, you can take it back anytime you want. When Marine has been in the Marine Corps for 4 years, Tyr naturally knows the responsibilities and tasks of each official position. Among them, Petty Officer 1st Class has the most tiring and dirty jobs. She has to advise Smoker every day. After Dasky left, Smoker said to Tyr, Teal, you don't need to lead the troops to do anything. You can just wander around the town and don't cause trouble. Don't worry, I will never cause trouble if I am so mature. After saying this, Taylor left the branch and headed to Roguetown Street. Mature. Do you have any misunderstanding about the word mature? Smoker said after seeing Taylor leave. It is still hard for him to believe that a character who has lived in the New World all year round came to the calm sea of the East China Sea. I don't know what Teal's purpose is. Those injuries under his neck. What kind of battle has he experienced? Taylor walked slowly on the main street of Roguetown and stopped at a slave trading place. Let me go. Give me another chance. I will never gamble again. Advertisement. You almost killed your wife and daughter just to gamble at the Bardo Club. I don't dare anymore. Remember what you taught me. Late. A man who lost his whole family because of gambling? Tyr stopped and watched the excitement. He asked a man next to him, what is the Bardo Club? The townspeople were frightened by the injury under Tyr's neck. They were stunned when they found out there was no hostility and responded, don't you know? It's a shop run by a gang boss. Are there any gangs in Roguetown? Of course, this is the Bardo Club. I heard that the boss is just a young man, the townspeople said. Tyr tried to remember that there seemed to be this character in Roguetown. He seemed to be a fanatical star chaser, so he decided to take a walk around the club. The weather in the East China Sea was sultry and cold wind blew in the air for 2 days during the flight. He closed his eyes and thought and groped his way into a bathhouse. Let's go to the bathhouse first. He skillfully put the money at the front desk, took off his clothes and walked into the bathhouse. Hey, uncle. Here is. Before the front desk clerk had finished speaking, Taylor had already opened the sliding door and entered the hot spring pit. Opposite his hot spring pit were a group of women with rosy faces. Due to the scars on Tyr's body caused by years of fighting, his face looks a little wild and handsome, and his 198 centimeters figure is relatively flawless. This made the women not scream, but blush and reveal their hunter-like fangs. There is murderous intent. Tyr, who has been fighting all year round, frowned and opened his eyes. The whole person was stunned for a few seconds, then he jumped out of the hot spring, covering his key parts. Sorry, went to the wrong bathhouse. No, it's okay, we don't mind. I mind. Tyr got up and ran away quickly. He then opened several bathhouses and found that they were all filled with women. It was only after I left this strange bathhouse that I found myself dead. This is a women's hot spring bathhouse, alas, Taylor replied and sighed. It's a good thing that the 500 Baileys were soaked for a few minutes, otherwise it would have been wasted. Tyr touched his chin and thought that he had made a profit. I have a lot on my mind. Well, it's better to relax during this time. He smiled shamefully and asked the people around him about the location of the Bardo Club, and it was as he expected. This kind of entertainment shop opened by gangsters is deep in the central alley of Roguetown Square. Advertisement Chapter 17 Bartolomeo in the square. Tell looked at the historic building standing in the center. The execution platform where Goldo Roger was executed. Entering a relatively chaotic alley in Roguetown, Tyr found that the people here were very colorful. A group of typical bohemian gangsters. Don't stare at me with your nose, okay. Tyr found a unique and huge building in the box. Roguetown, Bardo Club. When he saw the sign on the club's door, he would immediately remember who the boss of the club was. The guard stared at Tyr with a fierce look on his face, which made him a little embarrassed. Pray before you go in, and follow me. Long live Lord Bartolomeo. Tyr, who had a dark look on his face when he heard the sound, didn't know what it was and thought it was a bit strange. Oh, long live, he shouted, pushed past the guard and walked inside. As soon as he entered, a breath of joy rushed towards him. Inside is a bar, casino, opera hall, dance hall, etc. A huge club that integrates many projects. Oh, no wonder there are so many people. The specifications are a bit advanced. The business inside the Bardo Club is extremely hot, and everything is open. Haha, handsome man, would you like to have a drink? A dancer came to Tyr to solicit customers. The second she touched Tyr with her charming figure. Snap. His slender fingers covered with nail polish were slapped away by Taylor. What? Are you sick? Taylor ignored her and walked alone to a chair in a liquor store. Angrily, the woman came forward to argue with Teal. A beautiful and charming woman falls in love with you, and you dare to refuse. It's so ungentlemanly. Why should I act like a gentleman to a strange woman? Taylor put down a Bailey on the bar. The staff served him a bottle of wine. You. The woman gritted her teeth in anger. Just wait for me. She felt she was insulted and left angrily, as if she was looking for someone to teach Tyr a lesson. Although it's none of my business, if you humiliate a woman in the Bardo Club, you will be punished, my dear guest. Tyr smiled and didn't care at all. He was no longer the kid who was robbed by gangsters. I didn't do anything to her, I just rejected her, Taylor said after taking a sip of wine. But this is Bardo Club, the boss will. Advertisement. Before the boss could remind her, the woman who had just been rejected by Tyr came over with a man who was full of rebelliousness and arrogance. He has a green comb head and long pointed fangs like a vampire. Tyr knew this man, but he didn't know Tyr. Hey, who is messing with the beautiful female employees in my club? Lord Bartolomeo. The people entertaining here immediately hid in fear because of Bartolomeo's notorious reputation in Roguetown. But his men admired him immensely. That's him. The woman pointed to the man leaning on the bar with a grin on her face, Boss Bartolomeo. Huh? Bartolomeo came up behind Tyr and stared at him with an arrogant face. Who are you? Marine? He noticed the seagull pattern on Tyr's back. Have you found your destiny? Taylor turned to the woman with the wine glass in hand. Justice. What are you talking about? Bartolomeo said. Do you know that rejecting a woman here requires? He instantly put his hand on Tyr's head and pushed hard towards the ground. Boom. Bartolomeo's whole body suddenly tilted and became unstable. Huh? Is there any justice left? It's just that I refused her service. He raised his eyes and found that Tyr was still sitting on the chair normally, but he had fallen to the ground. Boss, what's going on? Quickly use your skills to teach him a lesson. There was a burst of booing around, some people couldn't believe it. Tyr drank the beer in the cup and suddenly looked at him with a dull expression. Do you want to take action against the guests? Taylor said coldly. What just happened? Bartolomeo got up from the ground and thought about it, feeling that something was wrong with Tell. You are running wild on my territory, I will roast you in public. The gangster's ferocity was undoubtedly revealed, and the shocking words were something that Tyr did not expect. Bartolomeo crossed his index and middle fingers and said with an arrogant smile, Barrier. Tyr, who was sitting in his seat, was instantly shielded by his ability. This is his fruit ability. Teal looked around in the barrier ball, and found that he could still transform into elements, so he didn't worry too much. Ha 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 ha. I can't wait to see you wandering in fear of death. Bartolomeo took Tyr in the barrier and placed him on a large fire grill, intending to use the heat to kill him in public. Advertisement on the surface, he looks harmless to humans and animals, but he is capable of cruelty that ordinary people cannot do. Haha. Tyr sat cross-legged in the barrier ball and grinned with his chin propped up on his hands. This made Bartolomeo a little confused, thinking that Tyr was a madman. His cruel character over the years has made him understand one thing. When people face death, they will be so frightened that they cannot control themselves and beg him for mercy. However, after several minutes of roasting under a blazing charcoal fire, the temperature inside the barrier ball had reached hundreds of degrees. He also didn't see any change in the smile on Tyr's face. What's wrong with you? Bartolomeo was shocked with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. All Barrow staff noted that Teal was fine. Will your barrier crack, mob boss? Tell asked. After he became elementalized, even the clothes on his body were elementalized, so no harm could be done to him no matter what. Except for hockey and Hylu stone. Obviously, Bartolomeo is not domineering at all. Haha. Bartolomeo also looked confident when he heard Tyr's provocation. My uncle's barrier is invincible. Although I don't know what's going on with you, I still have the means to slowly torture you until you beg for mercy. Chant. The first impression he gave to Tyr was that of cruelty, not harmless to humans and animals. Boss, why don't you forget it, said the woman who was rejected by Tyr. I suddenly have a bad feeling. Ah, he is locked by my barrier. What else can he do? Don't worry, I will find justice for you. Fair. Did I offend her? I don't know. Anyway, it's a provocation in my place? As the baking time got longer and longer, Bartolomeo also realized that things were getting more and more wrong. But he was absolutely certain that no one could destroy his barrier, and Tyr's smile made him feel increasingly chilled. Boom. Taylor's eyes suddenly widened. There was a violent earthquake inside the barrier, causing the entire Bardo Club area to feel like an earthquake. What would your expression be like if the barrier you thought was invincible cracked? Tyr showed his domineering aura. A terrifying wave of Conquerors spread from his body, and a huge explosion occurred. There was a crack in the barrier ball. There are cracks in my invincible barrier. What have you done? Bartolomeo became alert. Using the finger's force to activate the ability, its broken appearance can be instantly repaired. If I hold the cry in my hand, I can break it with one knife. After the shock just now, Bartolomeo had no doubts about Tyr's words. At this moment, he knew that the man in front of him was an extremely powerful being. The vibration attracted Marine's attention, and Marine, who maintained law and order, immediately came to the Bardo Club with weapons to investigate the situation. Chapter 18 Tyr's Lil Fanboy. Townshippers get out of the way and take shelter quickly. More than a dozen Marines rushed to the scene immediately, with doubts on their faces. There has never been an earthquake in Roguetown. In the club, Teal was a little shocked in the barrier ball. Even his Conquerors and his current strength can't break the barrier ball with one blow. Teal's Conqueror's external release does not cover a wide area, but explodes violently around him. The indestructible barrier ball made him feel that this defense was really terrifying. The most feared thing about the fruit's ability is hockey. The barrier fruit is so insoluble that even Tyr's hockey can resist it. It may be that Tyr has been a Logia for a long time, and he feels that his understanding needs to be changed. Paramecia and zoology cannot be compared with Logia. Immediately, Tyr released a wisp of sword energy and rotated in front of him at high speed to accumulate power. The speed turned faster and faster, so fast that the entire barrier ball was filled with a terrifying hurricane. What are you going to do again? Bartolomeo strengthened the quality of the barrier. But everything is in vain. Break! Tyr pushed the wisp of sword energy onto the barrier with his palm. Just a moment of contact, and the barrier exploded instantly. Bartolomeo's eyes popped out. My invincible ability is actually so fragile and broken. A fearful thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Who are you? Marine. Marine? Aren't Marines just trash fish? It seems that the mind needs correction and education. Tell walked up to Bartolomeo and punched him in the face quickly. One punch knocked him out and made a small crater on the ground. Bartolomeo fainted immediately. The woman's expression was already frightened by the strength displayed by Tyr, and others did not dare to act rashly. So what if I'm beautiful? If I reject you, I reject you. Taylor walked up to her and said, I will no longer be tempted by other women. After speaking, Taylor knocked her down with a snap of his fingers as a lesson. It hurts. A big bump appeared on the woman's forehead. She sat on the ground with tears in her eyes and covered her head. After walking out, the sailors were surprised to find Tell. Sir Petty Officer 3rd Class, why are you here? Investigating official business. Taylor's expression was obviously unhappy. As expected of you, you still work even though you don't need to do anything. You are our role model. No. Taylor was stunned. He was just here to have fun. There was no such thing as work. But being used as a role model. In the next day, Tyr ate all the delicacies in Roguetown, and he found a random roof to sleep on at night. In the dream, the sky was full of white smoke flying to the clouds, and Tyr was holding a black knife and fighting with red hair. The scene was domineering and lightning rushed into the sky. The angry and ferocious expression seemed to have lost someone, which made Tyr hate Shanks to the extreme. Tiffany. Advertisement. Strong sunlight shone into Tyr's eyelids, waking him up from his dream. The bright light made him cover his face with his hands. He found that Bartolomeo came with a group of his men to apologize and gave him a lot of gifts. Hey. What's your name? Under the eaves of a house in the square, Tyr woke up and found Bartolomeo waving to him with a honeyed face and a blushing face. There was also a bandage wrapped around his face. He was defeated by Tyr with one move yesterday and was impressed by the power that could break his defense. Do you still want to be beaten? No, I'm just here to apologize. I've already fired that dancer, he immediately responded to tell. However, Tyr didn't care whether he fired the woman or not. Being cheered and waved by a group of gangsters holding bright flowers on the street, so blatantly made Tyr feel a little embarrassed. What's going on with this person? Tyr's mouth twitched and he didn't understand the situation. Although I am a habitual offender, haha, I have never seen a man like you break through my barrier. Can you let me follow you? I'm not a gangster, and gangster affairs have nothing to do with me. Oh well. Bartolomeo clasped his cheeks as if he had something in mind. It was indeed our fault yesterday. Can I treat you to a meal and apologize? Have a meal. Tyr, who was about to leave, suddenly turned around and jumped from the roof. Okay. That's great. Seeing Tyr agree, Bartolomeo was happy to take him to a village on the northern coast of Roguetown. Boom, boom, boom. He took Tyr to the outside of a house where civilians lived and knocked on the door. Grandma, hurry up, gate of opening, I'm the minibus. An old, wrinkled man suddenly opened the door. Bartolomeo, why did you bring a stranger here? Monster. Tyr stopped abruptly. Hello. Oh, you look very sad, boy. The words of the old woman in front of him made the smile on Tyr's face gradually disappear. I really don't know how she could see through his heart. Haha, no, I'm very happy. This is the senior Tyr I told you about yesterday. He is a Marine. He is super powerful. Then what did you bring him for? If you want Grandma to cook a sumptuous breakfast, let me entertain you. Look, I will pay you double the cost of the ingredients. So rich. Tyr glanced at Bartolomeo. No wonder he is a gangster. I can eat a little bit, so I hope you can be considerate, Tell said politely. Okay, for the minibus sake. Entering the house, Tyr found that the house was beyond recognition. This grandma's room was very luxurious. Senior Tyr. Can I call you that? Whatever you want, Taylor responded. That's great, I was really stunned yesterday. Advertisement. Senior Tyr was able to break my barrier. What kind of power was used? Can you teach me? Domineering. Domineering? Bartolomeo didn't know what domineering was. This made Tyr wonder what kind of sea area the East China Sea is. Do you not even know the natural forces in the human body that are peaceful? When faced with Bartolomeo's questioning, he gave him a perfunctory answer. Because Tyr knew that this guy would become a huge fan of Luffy in the future. I will be very lucky in the future. May 19th is Tyr's birthday. More than a month has passed since his birthday. Senior Tyr, are you listening? How do you train that so-called domineering spirit? Fighting. This means that the main plot of One Piece is about to begin. Teal happened to take advantage of his vacation to witness the adventure of Garp's grandson. By the way, judge for yourself whether he is black or white. Because the real appearance of this world is very deformed, pirates are not necessarily completely bad people. Tyr also let go of many guys who were forced to become pirates by the world government. In his mind, the world government is half black and half white. Even so, he will never overthrow the world government in the future. If you eat other people's food but always think about overthrowing them, isn't that a rebel? Fight. Grandma cooks very quickly. Although she is old, she is not vague at all when cooking. Tyr directly picked up the hot piece of meat with his hands and put it into his mouth to chew. Well, fight. You will naturally learn domineering skills unconsciously during the battle. I want to imitate your red aura that exploded with a bang yesterday. You can learn that one, it's innate, but the sight color and the armed color are fine. Bartolomeo is currently 22 years old, and he feels like he is younger than him. Perhaps it was because he was now worshipped by Bartolomeo that he was so childish in front of Tyr. Then let's change it. How did you do a BU in the air and launch a flying sword? Devil fruit abilities. Sure enough, Senior Tai, you are too. Ha ha ha, that's great, can you teach me? Are you Paramecia? That shouldn't be possible, right? Huh? Can't Paramecia do it? Bartolomeo suddenly felt a little disappointed and asked, then what kind of fruit are you, Senior? I am. In the past 4 years, even the Warring States period has not come to a conclusion about Tyr, Satyr has always regarded his fruit ability as. I'm Logia. That's such a shame. Tyr devoured the food, letting the busy grandmother in the kitchen see what it means to be a big eater. And Bartolomeo was like a little fanboy, asking all kinds of weird questions around Tyr. In Tyr's heart, he is black and will not add any emotion to this behavior. Because Bartolomeo tried to kill Tyr. Chapter 19. The dog bites its owner when it is full. I'm so exhausted. Zalba, who is that friend of yours and how can he eat so well? The old grandma lay slumped on the dining table and complained. The mountains of plates tired her. He's Marine, and he's very strong, Bartolomeo said. Don't you like Marine? Grandma said. I'm a gangster, it would be nice to have a white backer if I have a good relationship with him. In the house, Bartolomeo was chatting with his grandmother about Tyr, but he had already eaten and left. On the northern seaside, Tell stood alone on the beach with his hands behind his back. The sparkling sunlight, like molten gold, penetrates the sea of clouds and shines on the sea, making it very dazzling. His messy hair was blown by the sea breeze, and his eyes looked sadly at the sea as Grandma said. But it didn't last long, and the smile returned to his face. Only the past hurts the most. Tyr, who stayed in Roguetown for a month, quarreled with Dasky every day, and usually helped her train soldiers. Until this day. Telephone Petty Officer 3rd Class, you like eating gourmet barbecue so much, have you ever been to Baratie Sea Restaurant? At noon, Tyr was taking a nap above the marine playground when a sailor who was training suddenly said to him. Baratie? That's right, the food there is the best in the world? This familiar yet unfamiliar name evoked Tyr's memory, and he swallowed the saliva in his mouth. Where is that restaurant now? Taylor leaned on the flying sword and asked. Hey, it's on the sea northeast of Roguetown Island. A gust of wind suddenly blew over the Roguetown branch, and Tyr had disappeared into the sky with his sword. That guy from Petty Officer 3rd Class has a special liking for food. Are you going just as you said? He immediately flew to the northeastern sea area of the East China Sea, which was the direction to the center of the East China Sea. After a while, he discovered a large pirate ship that looked extremely embarrassed. Tyr could tell at a glance that it was caused by a strong sword energy. There is a red hourglass hanging on each side of the skull, and the sailboat is very shabby. It feels like it will sink into the sea at any time. But he still continued to fly towards the foggy weather ahead, eager to eat delicious food. On a pirate ship. Chief Creed, someone flew over from the sky, the weak sailor said helplessly. Are you kidding? How can a person fly in the air? He was holding a black knife just like that man. Said a man with dark circles on his face and 4 red earrings on his ears. Jin. Take me to that restaurant quickly, advertisement. Not far ahead, Captain Creed. Just hold on a little longer. At Baratie restaurant, Tyr flew down immediately when he arrived at its location. The restaurant looks like a giant boat with fish-shaped bows on both ends. When Tyr came outside the gate, he heard the pleasant and brisk music inside. You can't go wrong, this is it. Unable to resist delicious food, he walked in directly. Suddenly, he noticed a boy wearing a red vest and shirt with a long nose and curly hair. A swordsman with a belt around his waist. The cute girl with the **L hair is being served by a gentleman blonde boy. He walked in with a big smile on his face. Hey, Luffy. Zoro was keenly aware of the extraordinary swordsman aura in Tail. What's wrong, Zoro? That guy is very strong, and so is the knife in his hand. Here comes the meal. Taylor yelled, took the banknotes out of his pocket and slapped them on the table. What are you arguing about, you idiot? We don't sell men's food now, get out. Sanji, who was chatting up Nami, yelled at Tyr. Pervert, you are disagreeing, Tyr said with disdain. A man in chef's uniform heard the guests arriving and immediately came out to greet them. Seeing the 10,000 banknotes on the table, he immediately entertained Teal. Sanji, this is an honored guest. That must be a distinguished guest, ha ha ha. Bring all the delicious food, Tail said happily as he slapped the table. Please wait a moment, you'll be here soon. The person who entertained Tyr was a chef with a thick wrist and a sausage mouth, who had a very good attitude. Tyr sat in his seat, but his eyes kept staring at Luffy and Zoro, who were close at hand and who had not yet received a bounty. Suddenly, Zoro was attracted by the blade in Tyr's hand and stood up and walked to him. Hello. What's up? Well, can you show me the knife in your hand? It feels strange. Without thinking, Tyr handed Whale to him. He stood in front of Tyr and pulled out the word, Hedao, to compare it with the screams, his face full of shock. It doesn't matter if you use it temporarily, as long as I'm still here to eat. Really? Are you serious? Of course, I stick to my word, Taylor said with a smile. He paid more, so after a while food from the kitchen was placed on his table in piles. The aroma was so fragrant that Tail immediately lost his mind and started showing off. So delicious. Tyr came here not to meet the Straw Hats, but to have a good meal and go back to have a good sleep. In his current opinion, nothing can make you feel more happy than delicious food. Advertisement soon after, everyone noticed the giant pirate warship sailing not far away from the fog outside the window. They were all frightened and began to flee in all directions. Until the captain of the Krieg pirates was helped into the restaurant by his subordinate Jin. They begged the chefs to give them food, but they were teased because of their identity as cruel pirates. Here, Sanji came out from the kitchen with a bowl of fried rice and placed it in front of Krieg. Eat. Teal also witnessed with his own eyes the scene of a fed dog biting a person in front of his face. After eating, Krieg immediately slapped Sanji with his wrist, causing blood to flow from the corner of his mouth. Dogs will wag their tails when they are full, but you bite your master, Tyr said after eating the last piece of sea animal meat and standing up. Ah, who are you? Don't you know that I am the overlord of the East China Sea, the leader of Krieg? He had light purple hair, a turban on his head, and a golden armor underneath his coat. He faced Tyr with a ferocious expression. Chief Krieg, he is. The man who was flying in the air just now, Agent said while lying on the ground. Ah, ha 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 ha, so what? I have recovered my strength. As long as that man doesn't catch up, there's nothing to be afraid of. Krieg introduced his deeds to Tyr, trying to make Tyr fear him. Hearing that Tyr was a little unhappy, he covered his face and walked outside, but was stopped by Krieg with his hand. You just called me a dog, right, isn't it? It bites its owner when it is full. This kind of dog is the last to be kept. ***. At this time, Nami took advantage of the chaos in the restaurant and walked out alone. You're looking for death, Krieg struck at Tell, preparing to punch him. His entire right arm and the ceiling of the restaurant were chopped apart by a sword energy. Krieg's eyes widened as he looked at his arms floating in the air. Don't even know what happened yet. Tyr's right index finger was slightly raised, and he continued to look at him with a smile on his face. What happened? All members of the Straw Hat crew were shocked. I thought Tyr was just a gluttonous guest, but I didn't expect him to be so ruthless. My arm. Krieg covered his missing right arm in disbelief. With a pale face, he picked up the broken arm on the ground and tried to close it. I thought I was hallucinating, but found that my arms couldn't close at all, and I couldn't even feel anything. Ah. My arm. Boom. A huge sword blast instantly struck the pirate sailboat from the sea outside the restaurant, splitting it in half. Brother Zoro. Oh no, Nami drove the ship away, that woman. Upon hearing this, the Straw Hats immediately ran outside the restaurant. Tyr stood in front of Krieg, looked at him with a smile on his face and said, You are worse than a dog now. After discovering Tyr's strength, he immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed to beg for mercy. Especially able to stretch and bend. It's because I'm blind, please let me go. Chapter 20 Breaking free from the curse and unyielding will to the rules. The ghostly will-o'-the-wisp candle carries a black knife over 2 meters long. The man's sharp eagle-like eyes looked at Baratie with a hint of surprise. That sword energy is. He recognized Tyr's attack. Krieg was thrown out of the restaurant by Tyr's hair, and he finally gave up his doubts. The one-man coffin boat entered the ocean channel formed by the splitting of the large sailing ship left and right. Arrive at Baratie restaurant. Chief Krieg. Akin crawled out of the restaurant in extremely embarrassed state, begging Tyr for mercy. Please, Chief Krieg is just too hungry and a little dizzy, please forgive him. Even such a person, Tyr looked at the extremely loyal Akin. Can he make you so loyal? Nami. My golden Mary. Luffy looked at the ship leaving in the distance with a puzzled look on his face. Let's go after Zoro. That's what Kaya gave us. Wait, Luffy, my goal of going to sea is right in front of me. If I defeat him now, it means that I am a veritable great swordsman. Zoro put on his turban and glanced at Tyr. Sorry, lend me your knife. Hawkeye will recognize this knife. Teal threw Krieg off the deck and floated cross-legged in the air. The captain's hand is broken. No, we are really in dire straits this time, and that man has caught up with us. Everyone in the Krieg pirates fell into despair. Teal currently has no plans to participate in or change the main storyline of One Piece. It's floating. Zoro, who was still a frog in the well in the distance, provoked Hawkeye to fight with him. Tyr came over them and watched the battle with a grin. The whole process was watched by Tyr, until Zoro's ambition was recognized by Eagle Eye and sunk into the sea. The screams that were about to fall into the sea were also summoned back to his hands by Tyr. Why would you give a knife to a nobody? Hawkeye asked Tyr. I am also a nobody, ha ha ha, try fighting with me, Hawkeye. Tyr challenged him. But Hawkeye didn't fall for it at all. Once the Shichibukai are defeated, it means that they will lose the protection of the world government and become pirates again. Forget it, I've had enough fun. Hawkeye glanced at Krieg's broken hand, and the fun of chasing him was gone. Well, then it's time for me to leave. Before leaving, Tyr glanced at everyone with shocked faces. It was as if they saw two beings whose strength far exceeded their knowledge. Wait a minute, Zoro saw Tyr about to fly away and stopped him. At this moment, he had been seriously injured by Hawkeye's knife and was lying on the wooden board. Huh? What's wrong? Taylor responded. Thank you for the weapons. Ha ha ha, it doesn't matter. After speaking, Taylor turned around and left without looking back. Advertisement. He walked with the seagulls in the blue sky, still savoring the delicious food in his mouth. Curry. Beef in sauce. It's so delicious. Why do you think they put additives in it? The food was so delicious that Taylor's face was full of aftertaste, which made him suspicious. However, the pirates in the East China Sea are indeed like a group of clowns who go to sea. There is also Luffy and his gang. It made Tyr feel that they were just a group of children who didn't know what pirates were, but they wanted to play pirate house games. I'm a kid too. Ha 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 ha. Thinking about it, Taylor laughed on the sea. About an hour or so, he returned to Roguetown. Having been on high-intensity tasks for 4 years, he felt a little unable to adapt after relaxing for such a month. Although there is a lot of freedom, there is no need to stop the new world, which is currently relatively peaceful. Returning to the branch, Tyr found the busy Dasky, held her hand and walked directly to the dock. He also held a pair of sea-stone handcuffs in his palm. Let me go. Wherever are you going to take me? Dasky struggled, somewhat reluctantly. I don't trust other people. Arriving at the pier, Tyr tied himself to the stilt stone and tied a rope. Are you going to do that training again? The Sea Tower Stone can cause Devil Fruit users to lose all their strength and tighten their Devil Fruit abilities. Tyr's training method can be described as very masochistic, the second he brought the Rog Genhai Tower Stone. He had long been used to it, but he didn't feel any weakness or loss of strength. It can even release a ray of sword energy that wraps around the fingertips, but it is difficult to control it. Well, so, I asked Smoker for a leave of absence for you, and he agreed. Taylor tied the rope and said, don't forget, you are a person with abilities. Why do you always insist on this training that goes against the rules of nature? Because I don't want to have any weaknesses, plop. After saying that, Dasky saw Tyr smile at him and jump into the sea. Oh, Dasky said with a headache, if you are stubborn, even if you overcome the Sea Tower Stone, there is nothing you can do about the curse of the sea. Hearing that Teal was going to train, Smoker was really curious about his training methods. Riding a 4-wheel motorcycle to the dock, I found Dusky holding a rope. Dasachi, isn't Tyr with you? Smoker. Colonel Smoker, he is in the water. Dasky pointed to the bottom of the water. Smoker was shocked when he heard this. Isn't he a person with abilities? Could it be? Haha, he's just so stubborn and worrying. You only told me before that he was a masochist. But you didn't tell me that he had a grudge against Hailu Shi. Advertisement. Smoker's shock was natural. He is also a person with Logia ability, and he understands how much the Sea Tower Stone restricts Logia. Seawater, Sea Tower Stone, as a person with abilities, he wants to restrain the rules that cannot be changed, which is simply a fantasy. Under the sea of the pier, Tyr held his breath and continued to activate the abilities in his body. In his opinion, if demonic abilities can be used in the sea, he can fly into the sky with the help of the flying sword condensed by his abilities, and the Sea Tower Stone can be easily crushed in front of his domineering force. That way, even if he can't swim, there is no possibility of the seawater drowning him. Devil Fruit users also endure much greater seawater pressure than ordinary people. For example, ordinary people can hold their breath for 1 minute at the bottom of the sea, but people with abilities can only hold their breath for 30 seconds. Teal knew all of this personally. At this moment, Tyr was like squeezing out every drop of toothpaste in the seawater. Try to release the sword energy in your body into the sea. While practicing, you are also practicing holding your breath. 2 hours passed. Gulu, a sword hilt has formed in front of Tyr, only the hilt. Veins all over his body exploded out of the surface of his skin. It was as difficult for him to activate the fruit's ability as it was to squeeze a drop of blood out of an intact body. No. Even if it can condense, it cannot be controlled in the sea. Tyr, who was about to run out of oxygen, pulled the rope and motioned for Dusky to pull him up. He was immediately pulled back to the surface by Dasky. Lying on the shore in embarrassment, gasping for air. Although I have seen crazy people, I have never seen anyone who dares to compete with the laws of nature. Colonel Smoker. Cough. What are you doing here? Taylor crawled ashore soaked all over. The moment they took off their upper body clothes, their eyes widened in shock. What's going on with you? Dasky knew that Tyr had always been injured, and seeing Tyr shirtless again after a few years had undergone tremendous changes. Shouldn't there be only one scar? Tyr twisted his seawater-soaked shirt. That was 3 years ago. You are not stupid, you are naturally stupid. You guy. How many battles did you go through to get your body to look like this? His body was covered with knife marks, dents and tear marks. Sir Colonel, in the 2 years since 4 Emperors was first established, New World was in constant disputes. During the Warring States period, Fleet Admiral sent me to that hellish battlefield in order to train me. Do you understand? In order not to cause panic among the townspeople, Tell put on a shirt that had been wrung out of water and left. Is his character really as smiling as he appears? Smoker doubted Taylor's usual naivety. I don't know. I remember that he was a very naughty guy. He would always complain when he was caught after causing trouble. Half a sword. As long as half of the sword is condensed under the curse of sea tower stone and seawater, I can ignore the curse of the sea. Taylor walked towards the town with a smile. Chapter 21 Conversation with Monkey D. Long. Only 3 days after cutting off Krieg's arm, Tyr discovered the news that the Straw Hats were being rewarded in Roguetown. In the chairman's seat in the conference room, Smoker didn't care at all about the reward order sent from the headquarters printer. Where is Colonel Smoker? 30 million level pirates are no child's play. What should we do? Dasky Petty Officer First Class is not here either. The officers and soldiers were already frightened by this reward order. He is afraid of the strength of 30 million pirates. They could only look at Teal, who was summoned to the conference table. Ask him for advice. Teal Petty Officer Third Class, you come from the Grand Line and the sea area where monsters gather in the New World. What should we do? Monkey D. He is Garp's grandson. Tyr told them with a smile. Nowadays, many people in the army are second-generation soldiers, and they have to be good at being humane and sophisticated. Otherwise, you won't be able to do well in Marine. The grandson of the hero Garp. Why are they wanted by the headquarters after they defeated the Arlong pirates? I don't understand. The soldiers were confused. Even Tail didn't understand why Luffy and his gang defeated the pirates but were wanted by Marine with such a high bounty. 30 million belly is enough for an ordinary family to have enough food and clothing for a lifetime. The morning meeting lasted for several hours, and in the end no response plan was made. Everyone was waiting for Smoker's instructions. Since everything is fine, I will go to town for a walk. Tyr, who had personally followed Garp on missions, knew Garp's strength very well. He can be described as a legend. He is not as invincible as imagined. But he is indeed a frighteningly strong, arbitrary old man who values feelings and friendship. Tyr didn't want to provoke him for no reason. After all, he was a senior. On the streets of Roguetown, the Straw Hats, who had just offered a reward of 30 million belly, have landed in Roguetown and are spreading around to purchase supplies needed for daily life. As Tyr was walking on the street, he stopped outside a clothing store and a familiar figure appeared in his eyes. Turning around to look at the clothing store, she found that it was Nami with the **L hair who was bargaining in the clothing store. At the same time, she was also in the clothing store to inquire about the situation in Roguetown. The landlady thought she was an ordinary civilian like herself, so she explained it to her in detail. 2 months ago, the Marine headquarters transferred a super powerful monster. The bad guys who landed on this island were easily arrested by the flying sword controlled by him. I heard that his name is Tyr, and he is a handsome guy. This compliment made Tyr nod happily outside the store. That's right, I'm a handsome guy, he thought to himself. Monster from Marine headquarters? Nami had sweat on her face and was a little scared. It's a monster more powerful than Colonel Smoker. Advertisement. The proprietress who was loading Nami's clothes suddenly looked out the door, and Tyr was looking at the situation inside with his face pressed against the glass. Oh, that's him. Ha ha ha, he patrols the town all day long as if he has nothing to do. The landlady pointed at Tell and said. By the time Nami turned around, Taylor had already disappeared out of the window. Above the eaves, Tyr was holding a black knife and looking at a man in a black cloak. Please don't take action against him, okay? The man in a black cloak pulled down his coat and hood, revealing a face full of tattoos in Tyr's eyes. This person is Monkey D. Dragon, Luffy's father. That's great. Why did the leader of the Revolutionary Army come to the East China Sea? Tyr put a black knife on his shoulder and beat his shoulders. It can't be to protect his son or something, right? Haha. Why don't you pass by and take a look at him? Who else is coming? Tyr's eyes suddenly widened, and an invisible aura spread rapidly in the huge Roguetown. As expected, the second in command is here too. After detecting that Sabo was shopping with a plump woman in a short skirt, Tyr smiled at Long. The place where the Revolutionary Army often hangs out is the gang-infested West Blue, which can also be called a hell on earth. Because it is a place where most wars occur, there are a large number of homeless orphans or people who have lost their loved ones. The Revolutionary Army also recruited troops extensively in West Blue to serve them. Don't you want to see a new era come? A new era that is completely free from power? Long K didn't treat Tyr as a child at all. Do you think your son is capable of doing it? Tyr floated up in the air, or do you think you are capable of doing it? After learning the news about Tell, Nami carried her clothes and ran towards the dock Melly in a panic. With sweat on her face, she was obviously scared. Because they are wanted pirates now. The tyranny of the world government has lasted for 800 years, and someone has to stand up and overthrow it. Listening to Monkey D. Dragon's words, Tyr held the handle of the knife with both hands and aimed at him. Gently swing from top to bottom and slash with sword energy. This slash was swung from his sword, not from his body. The dragon refused to dodge, and the sword energy directly penetrated his body and flew into the air. Ning. Taylor raised his left hand slightly. That wisp of sword energy formed 2 flying swords and rushed toward a certain neighborhood in Roguetown. If I eliminate you here, will there be less war in the world in the future? Tell said casually. Such words made Long immediately alert. If a large-scale war broke out with Tyr here, the entire Roguetown would not be alive. The hurricane and sword energy will ignore everything and destroy everything on the island. First of all, you can't do it. If you do, you will still be squeezed by the world government in the future. It's pirates who put the world into panic, and it's sky gold that makes pirates produce large amounts of gold. You have to distinguish this clearly. Taylor has followed the Warring States period in Marine for many years, so he naturally understands a little bit of the secret. Advertisement: if the taxes on heavenly gold were lowered, the world would be much better off, but his current power simply cannot do that. In Tyr's heart, he long was not determined to overthrow the celestial dragon regime. We have different ideas and cannot communicate. I once tried to get you to join the gang. It's true that we can't communicate. Tyr pulled down hard with his palm. In the neighborhood where Dasky lived, she was surrounded by crowds watching the show, holding her beloved sword Wajo in her hand. The two pirates who were arguing with her in front of her were pierced from the top of their heads by flying swords that fell rapidly from the air. They did not die, but fainted directly. The sword energy disappeared from their bodies into the air. Damn it, you meddling guy. Dasky adjusted his glasses and said with his cheeks pouting. In the crowd, Zoro, who was about to draw his sword, was shocked. This is the guy from before sitting with a sword. Why are you in the East China Sea? Take a vacation. Tyr understood that the Warring States period would call him back soon, or he would receive a call immediately. Because he has spent 2 months of leisure time in Roguetown. The conversation between Tyr and Long lasted for a long time on the rooftop in the sweltering heat. As time passed, the buggy pirates and the straw hat pirates in the town caused panic on the street just like the mischief. Until Luffy was tied up by Buggy and executed on the execution platform that symbolizes history in the center of the square. Tyr flew above the square to witness this scene with his own eyes. A man who looked and dressed like a clown held a short sword and pressed Luffy on the execution platform. Slash his neck with a knife. Suddenly, a natural disaster hurricane strong enough to affect the entire surrounding sea rushed out of the dragon's body. In order to save his son, he used the power of the fruit to instantly change the sweltering climate around him. A bolt of thunder struck the execution platform. Let Luffy survive successfully and run to the Roguetown pier. But Tyr stood motionless in the storm, holding the knife and staring straight at the pirates below. His fruit ability was not blown away by the dragon's hurricane. Is it meaningful for you to create this storm for him and make everyone think it is fate, dragon? Bartolomeo, who had been shocked by Luffy's courage before his death, was in a daze in the square. Even if it is meaningless, his life should not end here. In the storm, Long walked quickly towards the seaside. He joined other revolutionary troops, and among them was a man with blonde hair and burns on his eyes who glanced at Tell in the air. Who is that, leader? Sabo asked. Sob, go gather all the troops and prepare to return home. Don't provoke him. He is a monster with terrifying combat power. Chapter 22: Kidnapping the Red-Haired Pirate's Companions. What to do? Bartholomew fell into selective difficulty in the square. He admired Tyr's power, and just now he suddenly admired a man who was still smiling in the face of death. That is Luffy. That's... Bartolomeo looked at the sky, Senior Tyr. Brubru, the bug phone that Tail carried with him rang at this second. At this historic moment, Warring States suddenly contacted him. The phone bug answered. I'm Tyr. It's been 2 months, is the vacation enough? Warring States' voice came into Ty's ears. I have never given anyone such a long vacation. Is there a mission, teacher? That's right, something big is going to happen in the new world, Tyr. Received. In the stormy sky, Tyr suddenly turned into a sharp sword energy and flew towards the dock block near the seaside. The dragon that had just rescued Luffy was being attacked by Smoker's ability, and he was unwilling to let the Straw Hat Boy go. Why did you save Straw Hat? A father will not care about his son's life or death, Smoker. Smoker's Logia punched the dragon in the air. Father, do you know what you are talking about? Smoker was shocked when he heard this. Is the leader of the Revolutionary Army the father of Straw Hat? He didn't know such a thing. In the storm, the sword energy was like a sharp edge, descending from the sky behind the dragon that suppressed Smoker. Before I take action, Tyr held the black knife in his right hand, held the dragon's cloak in his left hand and threw it to the ground behind him. Get out of my sight quickly. Long fell to the ground, his neck held by Tyr's black knife. Facing the powerful enemy forces whose strength gap is not too big, Long has no way to deal with Tyr at this moment. Tyr. The Revolutionary Army will bring answers to the world, Sword God Tyr. If you want to fight for the government, you will surely perish. You can't give the world an answer if I start a war. The more people there are, the more corpses there will be. You know what I'm talking about. Tyr's expression suddenly became extremely cold-blooded, making people tremble physically and mentally. We'll see. The dragon turned into a hurricane and disappeared in the wind and rain. Smoker saw this scene with his own eyes. As the most vicious wanted criminal in the world, he compromised and left in front of Tyr. Huh, it's so annoying. Taylor complained, turned around and helped Smoker up from the ground, Colonel, are you okay? Advertisement, it's okay, he showed mercy to me. Suddenly, a violent storm washed over the entire city, which was the last thing Long did for Luffy. Tyr was surrounded by a breath of sword energy and was not affected by the terrible hurricane. Where are you going next, Colonel Smoker? Tell asked. I think I'm going to hunt down that Straw Hat Boy and I'm going to take him to jail no matter what. Whatever, Colonel, I'm going back to the Grand Line. Leading to the upside-down mountains and seas of the Red Earth continent, a group of Straw Hats who don't know what pirates are using the launching ceremony commonly used by pirates to make vows to each other about their dreams. Smoker immediately gave up his status as base commander under the jurisdiction of Roguetown and applied to his superiors for orders to go to the Grand Line. Only about half a month later, the reputation of the Straw Hats rose to prominence along the Grand Line. Malinvondo. In a bamboo compound on the island. Tyr flew over the compound with a piece of yellowed paper in his hand. Huh? Tyr stopped when he found that Garp and Bogart were training two newcomers in the compound. Teal, you are back just in time. Warring States seems to have something to do with you. Go see him quickly, Garp said to Tyr. I've been away for 2 months, and you've already accepted a new apprentice, old man. After Tyr finished speaking, he greeted Bogart in a friendly manner. Ha ha ha, while I can still move, I will quickly cultivate some good seedlings for Marine. Ha ha, okay. Tyr glanced at Garp's 2 disciples and prepared to leave. Kirby, Tyr has never liked this person very much. The first time I saw him, he still seemed to have the aura of a young man. Bogart. What's wrong, Lieutenant General Garp? I'm going to have a cup of tea with Sengoku. You train them both, Garp told Bogart. Kebi, you two have to work hard and become an outstanding sailor. Old man, what are you going to do? Tell said, didn't I tell you, drink tea? Garp noticed the reward in Tyr's hand and asked, what is that in your hand? Your grandson. What? Garp leaned close to Tyr and looked at the reward order in his hand, feeling a little worried. Because whenever Tyr holds a bounty from others, it means that the pirate is either pushing forward the city or has become dead. You didn't do anything, did you? Garp asked. Ha ha ha, Hero Garp, don't worry, he hasn't done any evil yet, and I won't take action. You guy. Soon after, Garp entered Sengoku's office with Teal, full of words. Advertisement, Warring States period, find someone to fill Crocodile's position as soon as possible. I have issued a summons to the Shichibukai, I don't know how many will come. Now, Luffy has defeated Crocodile in Alabasta, and the government contacts Sengoku in order to supplement Crocodile's position. Please. As soon as he entered the office, Tyr discovered who Sangguo was talking to on the phone. But it seems the call has ended. Are you here, Taylor? Yes, teacher. Put your appearance into shape, and follow me to the Holy Land Marijoa later. Oh. Taylor went to the bookcase behind him and dug out a drawer, and took out the rubber ring for tying hairpins. Tie up the messy long hair behind the ends and simply tidy it up to look particularly handsome. Garp just went to the sofa to pour himself some tea and sat down with a piece of senbei in his mouth. Garp. Sengoku stood up and came to Garp and grabbed his collar. What's wrong? Garp was sweating profusely and didn't know what was going on. How much trouble did your grandson get into? How did you, D, discipline your grandson? Ha 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 ha. Garp laughed loudly after hearing the news. He is indeed my grandson. Tile, you too, why didn't you arrest him in Alabasta? I didn't go at all, teacher. Tyr sat in Sengoku's seat and rummaged through the drawer. It's all filled with pen and ink, and there's also a pack of marine snack biscuits hidden inside. You didn't go? You were on Smoker's ship, and Smoker is now escorting Crocodile himself to impel down. Yeah, I didn't go. Tyr left Smoker's small warship less than 2 days after returning to the Grand Line. Then where have you been? Tyr suddenly paused in his words. I captured a person and came back. Who? Warring States felt something was wrong, because every time Taylor caused trouble, it was a particularly big incident. I saw Tyr gently wave his palm over Marine Fando, and a pirate hanging by a flying sword appeared at the Marine headquarters. I remember he was. Garp looked familiar at the pirate, a new member of the red-haired pirate group, right? You. Warring States recognized him directly. Hey kid, the red-haired boss won't let you go. You. He suddenly found that the 2 old men sitting in the room looked familiar. Sengoku. The legendary naval hero Garp. Hey, you still know us. He is really a new pirate with good knowledge. Chapter 23 Holy Land Shichibukai Conference. Sengoku's hair was like explosive hair, all of which turned into sharp shapes. What did you kidnap him for? Do you want Marine and the red-haired pirates to start a full-scale war, you idiot? Sengoku yelled. This person is none other than Rocksta, who was kidnapped by Tyr when the red-haired pirates returned from delivering a message to Whitebeard. Sure enough. I still have to kill him and throw him into the sea. Taylor felt a little aggrieved after being yelled at. I know your red hair has a grudge. Colonel Tiffany, who was your friend, died in the battle a year ago. You hate him deeply. Tyr tilted his head and remained silent. But the situation in New World is somewhat out of control now. Tyr, I hope you can put aside your hatred for the time being. Whitebeard and Shanks are about to come into contact, and Tyr appears to have taken no action in front of the Warring States period. But he had already planned a surprise attack in his mind. He told the Warring States period, I have a plan. What's the plan? Let's talk about it. Shanks and Whitebeard are going to contact each other. I propose to send General Akainu and General Kizaru. He just finished saying Kizaru's name. He walked in leisurely from outside holding a nail clipper. What a rare visitor, Tyr. Kizaru was a little shocked when he saw Tyr. Go on. And General Aokiji, use all your strength to annihilate them where they meet. Even if they can escape, they will suffer heavy casualties. No, why? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The fighting strength is not enough. Sang Guo wanted to avoid Tyr's proposal. If the combat power is not enough, wouldn't it be better to add the lieutenant generals? This is a good opportunity to annihilate them in one fell swoop. Why should we be afraid of their contact? It's really scary, making such a scary suggestion. After listening to Tyr's suggestion, Warring States saw cold-bloodedness from his harmless appearance. Why are you always like this? So extreme when it comes to the red-haired pirates. Isn't the proposal wrong? The three generals will attack with all their strength, General Aokiji will freeze the sea, and then fight them to the death in that sea area. Stop talking. Tyr. Warring States interrupted Tyr's speech. Taylor closed his mouth and didn't say another word. He took a deep breath. Your proposal may indeed have a slight chance of annihilating them, but if you gamble with the entire high-level military force, have you considered the situation in other places on the sea? After being rejected by the Warring States period, Tyr stopped saying a word and sat quietly on the chair waiting for the order to go to the Holy Land. Rox Tatsuya was sent back to Malinfondo by Tyr and hung over the sea, without being handed over to the soldiers who came to escort him. Warring States Fleet Admiral, this. Advertisement. Sensing Tyr's mood swings, Warring States didn't say much. As long as Tyr stayed by his side, there would be no problem. Arriving at the military port dock, Taylor was still a little unwilling to give up such an opportunity. Actually, my proposal is quite good. Then have you ever thought about the casualties of soldiers? Even if the bloody battle is narrowly defeated after the war, how will we explain it to our military families? Isn't sacrifice necessary? On the large warship of the Warring States period, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Tell. I never thought that the cute boy in front of me would say such cold-blooded words. Stop mentioning it, Tyr, and put away your black knife. There is no scabbard, Fleet Admiral, I just put it behind my back. Taylor put the black knife on his waist and followed Sengoku. It took about 3 hours to sail from Marineland to the Holy Land of Marieyo, Shichibukai Conference Round Table. Arriving at the Holy Land outside the Shichibukai Grand Round Table Castle, Marine Headquarters informs Marihoa that Mr. Shichibukai Bartholomew Bear and Mr. Don Quixote Doflamingo have arrived. The message on the radio caught Teal's attention. During this period, he followed closely behind Warring States and entered the room on the top floor of the castle with the best view. Doflamingo, are you kidding me? Stop it, damn it, my body keeps changing. Marine's chief advisor, he didn't care about such nonsense. He knew that Doflamingo didn't dare to hurt any Marine here. If you don't want to cause trouble, end this farce quickly, I'm very busy. He had blonde hair, wore sunglasses that made his eyes invisible, and wore a pink feather coat while sitting on the balcony waving his fingers. The gorgeous big room, Tai followed Sang Guo into the room holding Sang Guo's white goat. As soon as he entered the house, Tyr discovered that Doflamingo, a Shichibukai, was controlling the thread fruit to trick one lieutenant general and attack another lieutenant general. Stop it, scum of the sea, are you here for a meeting or a fight? If you want to fight, I can find someone to accompany you. Are you complimenting me, Sengoku Fleet Admiral, Doflamingo immediately noticed Tyr's presence. Hey, did you bring that brat too? The arrival of Sengoku immediately made Doflamingo stop using the parasitic thread to control the lieutenant general. Tyr, who was feeding the little white sheep with the reward paper, put it down and followed Warring States to the round table and sat down. Are only 2 of the 6 people here? I don't think anyone will come if we wait any longer. Let's just start. Taylor touched Sengoku with his finger. What's the matter, Taylor? I'm Petty Officer 3rd Class. I'm not suitable for this kind of meeting. It doesn't matter, just sit there and listen. Hey, you brought in a lunatic who is prone to going berserk. What should we do if our lives are in danger, Sengoku Fleet Admiral? Advertisement. Doflamingo walked up to the round table and sat cross-legged with his unruly look, constantly provoking Tyr. He looked scared on his lips, but his actual actions were as if he was trying to irritate Tyr, deliberately saying some unpleasant things. What are you looking at, Sword God, Tyr? Is this the title given to you by the Marine soldiers? Let me see what strength you have. He suddenly noticed that Tell was looking out the door and ignored his words at all. After listening to it for a long time, it turned out to be nonsense. I even wondered if I had come to the wrong place. This is a rare visitor. Why are you here, Hawkeye? Mahawk strolled in from outside the door and sat down with his legs on the conference round table. If the Marine headquarters and Shichibukai still maintain a confrontational attitude, then this roundtable meeting will be meaningless. You're actually here too, Hawkeye. Sengguo crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Hawkeye. Just here to join in the fun. He also noticed Tell, standing behind the Sengoku chair with his hands on his hips like a door god. At this moment, Tyr's eyes were already behind the balcony. Shichibukai is an exception. How come there are pirates hiding here quietly and no one notices them? No one has found anyone hiding there. What's the matter, Taylor? As expected of a talented new star who is famous among Marines, I didn't expect you to discover my existence. One was pale and holding a cane. A man dressed like a Ma Chi-tuan actor came out. His legs clicked on the ground, dancing in a strange way of meeting each other. Next moment, Tyr, who was behind Warring States, appeared behind him at some point. Tyr jumped up and pinched the back of his neck with his palm, pressing him hard to the ground. Hey, are you so disrespectful of the way I appear? This guy is Lafitte. Lafitte's lungs were squeezed hard by Tell on the ground, making it almost difficult to breathe and speak. His tone was dry. Lafitte? What kind of person is he? A security guard in a town in West Blue was expelled from the country for excessive violence in law enforcement. I don't welcome a pirate with a bad reputation appearing here. Seeing that Lafitte was still smiling proudly, he increased his intensity. Ah, Lafitte finally couldn't bear it anymore and screamed. I see pure blackness in you. Tyr pressed him to the ground with his left hand, and raised the knife with his right hand to aim at his head. Ahem. Hey, are you going to kill me? There is no reason, right? Lafitte said in extreme discomfort. Do it, kill him, bah. Doflamingo started a fire on the round table. Teal, let him go and let him explain his purpose. Chapter 24. It's scary to think about it carefully. Be honest, or I will stab you through the head. Tyr had no choice but to obey the orders of the Warring States period, because he was not only Tyr's boss, but also Tyr's teacher. Lafitte, who was 3.4 meters tall, was sat on the ground by Teal without any dignity. What's the matter with you? Is this your attitude towards guests? Get up from me. Lafitte heard about Tell from Blackbeard. I didn't expect him to be so bad. Guest? If you lurk in a military area, you are either a spy or a thief. That's right. I should order you to be arrested. If you have anything to say, just tell me. If I'm not interested, I'll ask you to go to Impel City to eat in prison. There is now a vacancy in Shichibukai, and I am here to recommend a suitable person to you. Lafitte glanced at Tell on his back with hatred on his face. There is a feeling that makes him very honest. That is, he felt that Tyr behind him might kill him at any time. Who? How is his strength? How much is the bounty? Warring States asked again. No one at the round table took Lafitte seriously. Teach, the name of the captain of our pirate group. Blackbeard sent people to the Holy Land to apply for the Shichibukai position, which means, the war is coming. Tell sat and Lafitte thought to himself. I've never heard of it. Warring States suddenly looked at Lafitte with disdain. I'll tell you the truth, this little known guy can't intimidate other pirates at all. Shichibukai was created by Sengoku after he became Fleet Admiral, so if you want to make Shichibukai, you must obtain his consent. What you said is absolutely right, cough. Lafitte, who was pressed to the ground, felt extremely humiliated, and his face became a little angry. Our group has already made a response plan for this, please give me some help. Let's take some time. Interesting. Doflamingo laughed after hearing this. Let him try it, Warring States Fleet Admiral. Plan? Let's talk about it, Warring States asked curiously. Our pirate group is called the Blackbeard Pirates. We plan to capture a pirate worth over 100 million for you. Please give us the position of the only Shichibukai Fleet Admiral. If you can do it, it's not impossible to consider it. Oh, what a courageous guy. Staffy said. I believe that today's over 100 million pirates are enough to intimidate other pirates, right? At that time, if the person we catch is special, we will also give you Sengoku Fleet Admiral a huge secret. Hearing these words, Tyr felt extremely scared to think about it. It turns out that the planner of the war on top was not the Warring States period at all, but was planned by Blackbeard. Their first target was originally Luffy, but he was hit by Ace midway and had to change the target. It's scary to think about it. At this stage, no, in the past few months since Blackbeard betrayed Whitebeard, he has been planning a secret to make himself famous. Advertisement killing Lafitte directly here is against military regulations and may be able to prevent this war. Tell raised the tip of the knife to the back of Lafitte's head. What are you up to? Tyr, who was in his own thoughts, couldn't hear what was said outside at all. If the war on the top does not happen, he does not know what changes will happen in this world in the future, and he loses control of the information gap in this world. Should I kill him? After discovering that Tyr was abnormal, Lieutenant General Kesha immediately came to Tyr to stop him. Hey, Tyr. What's wrong with you? Kesha shouted to Tyr. Ah. What are you going to do? You madman. The tip of the knife has penetrated Lafitte's brain cortex, causing him to fall into the fear of death. He began to struggle, but found that Tyr was as unshakable as a mountain. The strength gap is too big. Tyr, huh? Tyr came back to his senses and looked at Kesha, taking back the black knife in his hand. Lieutenant General Kesha. I'm sorry, I was a little distracted just now. Let him go, Tyr, the information he provides may be useful, Warring States judged. Tell let go of Lafitte, who got up from the ground and immediately ran to the balcony. Captain Teach is right, you are a monster. Then, wings grew out of his back and flew away. For those with devil fruit abilities, maybe there is something to look forward to. A few days later in the New World, on the ship of the red-haired pirates. The veins on his forehead were about to explode and he was holding a phone bug. Boss, help me. This kid is going to torture me to death. Rock's voice reached Shank's ears. The phone bug on his body was opened by Tell and contacted Shanks. As a newcomer who just joined the red-haired pirates, Red-haired still takes this matter very seriously. After all, none of the four emperors wants their reputation and authority to be challenged. He held the microphone domineeringly and said, "What conditions do you have? He is just a newcomer delivering messages. Why do you kidnap him?" The red-haired voice reached Taylor's ears. Tyr laughed in response. "Red hair, I will let your subordinates, friends, allies, and all those who are friendly to you, die tragically in front of your eyes. Is there any room for negotiation? Even if you kill my partner, don't expect me to show mercy to you. Your partner is the most important thing, right? Advertisement, of course." The red hair's words made Roxda cry. He didn't expect the red hair to care so much about his subordinates. Then the person I care about was killed by your men, how will the debt be settled? There is no immortality in the struggle for hegemony, besides. Ahem. Boss. The red-haired man suddenly heard the hoarse sound of rocks on the other end of the phone, as well as the sound of blood splattering. He was extremely angry and had roughly guessed what happened. In the sky above the clouds of the marine building, Tyr used his power to levitate the phone bug microphone on the neck of a rooster. Use the black knife to slit its throat bit by bit, letting the red-haired person opposite the phone bug enjoy this bloody feast. Rox Days, who was standing next to him, volunteered to cooperate with Taylor in performing this scene. It's really voluntary. That's right, there are no immortals in the struggle for hegemony. After all, pirates like you only care about the people around you. How can you care about what others take away or lose from you? The red-haired man who was on his way to contact Whitebeard didn't expect such a thing to happen. He couldn't accept this result, which reminded him of the last battle between New World and Tyr a year ago. Can you hand over Roxda's body to me? Using a chicken as a human being, he threw the rooster whose throat was slit by Tyr into the air, and used his sword energy to strip off the feathers and hold it in his hands. I think his cells will float to the New World. If you care about your partner so much, you will definitely feel it, right? Roxda himself was surrounded by 100 sword energy, and he did not dare to do anything in cooperative. Rocks up. The red-haired man's anger was completely activated by Tyr. Don't worry, I believe we will meet soon, Taylor smiled. After saying that, Teal hung up the phone and floated down, standing on the balcony at the top of the marine building overlooking the blue sea. I've cooperated with you enough. B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** to tell. He never wanted to get involved in these monster-level characters again. Cooperate, take this and kneel down in the streets of the military towns and sing OEH, Tyr said to him. Believe me, if you dare to do anything, 100 swords around you will tear you into pieces. There won't even be any scraps left. Tyr handed the red-haired man the reward order, but he couldn't refuse with a desperate look on his face. Oh yeah, I volunteered, boss. Rox burst into tears. Staying in Malinfondo for several days, Rox sang and talked until his whole body was tortured to the point where he fainted and died in the town. He held the photo of the redhead in his hand, which made the redhead lose all face in Marine. Chapter 25 Annihilation, Clash of Gods, Clash of Overlords. I took the initiative to ask Ying to go and spy on the movements of the 2-4 emperors. Tyr stood in front of the Warring States desk with his hands clasped behind his back. The black knife was stuck on the floor in front of him and he looked directly into Sengoku's eyes. Tyr, try not to live too much in the past. You're the most courageous soldier I have ever seen, and Marine doesn't want to lose you. Ha ha ha, don't worry, teacher. I will never live in the past. Tyr showed a smile. That smile gradually made Sengoku realize something was wrong. Different from Tyr himself in the past, it makes people feel a little chill. Okay, I'll send you there, don't fight them. The order was personally agreed to by Sengoku himself, and Tyr took a military order agreement and boarded a warship to prevent the 4 emperors from contacting him. For Marine, the most dangerous mission in the world is to contact the 2-4 emperors. And Tyr walked on such a dangerous road every time. To detect and prevent the actions of the 2-4 emperors, a combat reconnaissance warship group was dispatched, all led by unknown colonel officers. 80% of such tasks are impossible to return to. Please, Lead us to victory. There was a loud shout from the group of warships preparing to leave the dock, and all the sailors, including officers, knelt down on one knee and handed over the general command to Tell. Powerful people often receive special treatment to prevent 2-4 emperors from coming into contact. Without high-level combat power, there is a high probability that the outcome will be death and burial in the sea. You often deal with them, you must know what happens when they come into contact. Please lead us. Let's go. Facing so many people's requests, how could Tell accept it? He is just a petty officer 3rd class, still a fictitious person. How is it possible to have the ability to lead an army? So, he remained silent, starting from the Grand Line, pass through the special channel on the Red Continent and enter the New World. During these days when Tyr was sailing the sea, the Straw Hats' adventure journey had reached the capital of the Seven Waters. In order to save Nicole Robin, who was recruited in Alabasta, they made a fuss on the Judiciary Island, the world's 3 largest institutions. New World. Somewhere on the surface of the ocean. Daddy. A pirate on the Moby D*K shouted in panic. He ran up to a man who was as big as a giant and nearly 7 meters tall. The man with the crescent-shaped white beard that curved upward knelt down in front of him. This man is none other than the world's strongest man, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. Advertisement. He held a wine barrel as a wine glass. Why are you so panicked? Did the red-haired kid regret it? No, Dad. The 3 pirate groups under your command that prevented Marine from contacting us were defeated in an instant. Which 3? Bybeard poured a sip of wine into his mouth, a little concerned. The 3 great captains of Whitehive, AO, and Skuyard have been defeated. Skuyard. How could Marine have the ability to defeat them in an instant? Could it be that a general was dispatched? No, they are all nameless rats. There is only one guy who has been dealing with us all year round. Who? That young boy, that brat who controls flying swords all over the sky. That kid is really haunting. Why'd I meet him every time? Whitebeard never expected that Tyr would become an obstacle to their contact. The sea near Moby D*K. On a piece of ice-breaking steel pirate ship, Taylor grabbed a blue-haired woman and slammed it on the deck. Ahem. The woman's throat bones almost shattered. Where is the root of the red-haired pirates? Tyr asked sharply. Turn the fleet around. Don't get close to the Moby D*K. The officers commanding the warship quickly adjusted the fleet group. Next to the blue-haired woman were 2 disabled pirate captains, both captains of the pirate group under Whitebeard. Ha ha ha, kid, you are really not a gentleman at all. The one held in Tyr's hand was none other than the Ice Witch, Whitey. The moment she said these words, the deck lying behind her was shattered by the force of Tyr's hand. Whitey's pupils shrank suddenly, and she couldn't believe that Tyr would kill a woman like her. Ahem. The hoarse voice in his throat spit out a mouthful of saliva. Boom. Then, Tyr punched her in the face and drove her into the bottom of the pirate ship. Dad. We'll never let you go. Dad. Help. Tyr jumped back to the warship from a distance, quickly raised the knife with his arm and swung it towards the steel icebreaker. 3 branches of sword energy rushed out of Tyr's blade, directly tearing the steel into pieces. White sword. Tail controlled the flying sword energy to condense into hundreds of flying swords and flew quickly on the 3 pirate ships. Some pirates tried to swim to the bottom of the sea to escape, but all of them were pierced by sword energy and died. As long as Tyr does not fall into the sea, his sword energy will not be affected by the sea. The blood stained the sea where he was, and the 3 pirate ships sank to the bottom of the sea. Traces of the red foss were found in the northwest, and everyone is ready to fight. A scarlet sword energy rushed out of the red foss, cutting through the sea and rushing towards a warship. Upon seeing this, Tyr immediately consumed Conqueror's energy, completely decomposing it in the air and turning it into his own ability. Advertisement: a warship was saved. That's Shanks on the bow of the red foss frowned and was startled. After discovering the familiar ability, he took a step forward and rushed towards the warship where Tyr was located in the air like an explosive shockwave. I'm going to avenge Rox. Beckman, Jesus. You command the battle with the Marine fleet. We must kill that boy this time. Shanks, whose face was full of hatred, showed no signs of withdrawing his strength, and Griffin in his right hand had already begun to charge red lightning. Conquerors spread in the surrounding sea, and some sailors who couldn't bear it fainted on the spot. Tyr quickly slashed at him several times from the air, and the sword energy was bounced into the sea by Shanks. Then the moment he approached Tyr, 2 strands of Terror Conqueror's scarlet bloom. Bang! The bow of the warship that Tyr was standing on instantly exploded into powder. He held his knife to resist Shanks' slash. Do you think you can kill me easily by using all your strength as soon as you get up? Tyr's body was pushed to the deck by his terrifying power. Do you think you can kill me easily? Rox is just a new messenger. Why do you want to kill him? It's useless to talk more. Tyr pushed with all his strength, and just now he gathered hundreds of flying swords to attack the red hair, so he had to give up the close combat to distance himself from Tyr. The red-haired man shook Tyr away with all his strength, and quickly swung his western sword to smash the flying swords around him. He didn't dare to use his sword energy again, as that would only make him into a bitter battle. Tail, who didn't want to talk nonsense with the red-haired man, started to condense the terrifying sword energy like a storm with the scarlet aura of the black knife in his hand. No matter how you reason with the red hair, you won't make them understand one thing. They will always feel that the lives of other people are far less than the lives of their partners, and they will do anything to put the world into panic for their partners. This is the red-haired pirates. Annihilate the sword energy. The black knife in Tyr's hand gathered powerful sword energy and Conqueror's breath power, and his legs burst out and rushed towards the red hair. The red-haired man immediately sensed something was wrong. He blasted out a burst of sword wind and wiped out all the flying swords to warn Tyr. Do you know what it means to swing this blow? The red hair no longer retains any domineering power. If he didn't go all out, he would be seriously injured by Tyr, who was seeking revenge. The overbearing red lightning instantly wrapped around Griffin, and he rushed towards Tyr without any hesitation. God avoids. Two terrifying overlord blades bloomed, and the clouds in the sky split like the gates of heaven opening. It was an all-out battle from the very beginning, only because of Tyr's endless revenge and rage against Shanks. The only person he likes is not the various beauties who came through time travel, but an unknown colonel from the Marine headquarters. But tragedy also happened a year ago in the battle between New World and the red-haired pirates. It made him lose her forever, and it also made Tyr never want to touch love again. You can talk about love, but definitely not about love and heart.